Yeah, buddies, it is the Bennington Show. I am Ron Bennington. Gail Bennington on maternity leave. And I got a picture of Juliet today as she was fake sleeping. Sometimes I think she doesn't want to be what we want her to be. So she just pretends she's sleeping so she won't have to goo goo gaga, which made us all incredibly exciting. So now we want her to fake sleep all the time because we find that funny. It's annoying to be a baby, I'm sure. All right, it is the Bennington Show. We were in best of yesterday because in the middle of the show we had to do the unmasked down in the village, and Chris needs his time to set that place up to perfection. Although I wish we could move the seats over so there aren't people stuck looking at our backs. And we're going to announce another unmasked in just a few minutes. That's going to be fantastic. But, Chris, how do you get on the list where you always know when the unmasked happen?
Go to benningtonshow.com, and when you're there, after a couple of seconds, a window will pop up to just ask you to put your name and email, and that puts you on the mailing list. And then you will get emails about our events. That's it. Just go to benningtonshow.com and type your information into the pop-up.
But you got me running. You got me hiding. But these things are so damn fun. And the next one that we announce in just a few moments, major name. Major comedian, filmmaker, television creator, and you will be able to come along to this. It's going to be so fucking cool. All right. Today we got, I guess, the tail end of that Carolina thing, Florence.
Yeah, that's why it's just raining sheets outside.
It's raining sheets. I don't know why you don't end up on the Weather Channel, Chris, because you are so incredibly poetic when you describe something.
I keep applying, and they keep saying too much sheets talk, buddy.
When I was younger and it was pouring rain, and I hadn't heard this phrase before or since, but my cousins always said it was teeming. It was teeming. And I would just go, yeah, it is teeming. But you know what I mean? I was just trying to be cool by acting like I knew what they were talking about. Earl, what did you used to call it when it was a ferocious rain? Would that be a white man rain, or what would you say it was?
It was pissing rain.
It was pissing rain.
Yes.
Very R. Kelly of you. That's Earl's favorite performer of all time. And I said to Earl, I go, what's your favorite song by him? He goes, songs. I don't know anything about songs. I just know about urinating on underage girls. And R. Kelly stays out of jail. He still can tour. Everybody, he's just beloved, isn't he?
He beat the charges. By some miracle, he beat the charges. The backlash is finally starting to kick back in, where they're starting to cancel dates.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Dates.
What's our short for?
I think it is Robert.
Rapey?
Robert.
And Kelly is his real last name? Because it sounds very Irish to me.
I believe it is his full name. Yes, Robert Kelly.
Robert Kelly. He's Bobby Kelly.
He's on, as you know,
Robert Kelly should go out as R. Kelly when he's playing the fucking Ha-Ha Room in Akron, Ohio, and just fucking sell the shit out of that place as R. Kelly. And then when he does show up, people are going to be like, I'm really enjoying this show. I thought I wasn't, but I am.
Probably met by a lot of protesters. Like the backlash.
That doesn't bother Bobby Kelly. He's been protested before. And you know what? He turns those protesters around and makes them into fans. I'm not going to lie to you. My pants are fucking wet today, and so are my socks. It was pouring. Normally on a day like this is my thing. Like if it's a blizzard or something, I bring a spare pair of socks, change into them. Today, it was a fucking daydream journey. Okay, I let it happen to me.
We can get you socks. That's not an issue.
It's a problem for me. I know where you get socks from. and I'm not going to get homeless people socks.
There's a super dry store down the street.
How far down the street?
Like on the corner of 49th and 7th.
I don't like to get Midtown socks. That's my thing. I'm very fucking particular about my socks. And that's something you could have had for me when I got here. That would have made me think, I've got the producer of a lifetime. Let me give you, Vito, come on in for this too. I want you to be part of this because I want us to help Chris Stanley. And here's why I worry about Chris. And Earl, you've gone through this in your career. You were out of radio for a lot of years. You're back. Chris doesn't allow people to know how good he is as a producer. And when he is seen by middle and upper management, it's almost 100% of the time when he's having a bad time and he's freaking out.
Something's going on.
And you're bad at meetings. You're
not very good, no.
You're either too quiet, eating too fast during a meeting with upper management, and they don't like to see someone stuffing chips. I don't know what it is about them, but that lack of control is bad for them. And then the other thing to do is once they do call on him, there's a really uncomfortable run-on sentence.
Yes.
That ends with one of us making a joke of, okay, do you want to just sit down now, Chris, or something, and then we all laugh. So here's what happened today. One of the big shots says, I was watching the Emmys last night. So many people that won Emmys have done Unmasked. Why don't we put together a weekend of it, right? And they all love the idea. They're going back and forth. Paul loves the idea, so he's throwing stuff in. I'm throwing stuff in. The only person on the chain not answering is Chris Stanley, who produced all of those things. He does not get involved in that email chain, even though he could have been the guy who said, I have this and this and this. We could run it this way. And he doesn't let them know. And then later he sends an email just to me with a very fine looking promo on it. But when they said, can we do promos? I waited for a while. There's no Chris. So I have to write, of course we can do promo. Were you just completely locked up in fear that you were being paid attention to?
Well, I mean, also it was a different email address, so that when I was a little late on seeing those emails. So then when I got into it, like the conversation was already happening, and I was just late to the conversation.
I never even saw you throw in anything.
I threw in one thing saying that pulling all these interviews just to organize them and having them ready.
That was long after I was out then.
yeah. You didn't respond after that. There was like one other email after that. But yes, it was.
Did it mock you?
I don't think it mocked me.
Why weren't you on that?
I was. I just saw it late.
You can't be late in this fucking business. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's the early bird. He's the producer of this, and he has all this. And he could be like, "Hey, I'm a thinker too." Instead, what did he say? I could do some grunt work. And then he writes this very fine promo, but only mails it to me. I sat there and I was like, damn it, Chris, please shine. Shine on, you fucking crazy diamond. He will not do it. You're intimidated by bosses.
I always feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing. Sometimes I
just
feel like
don't. Say the right thing.
That would be great if I could just do that. Also, I come off aggressive. I think overly aggressive at times.
Yes.
I think that might intimidate them or just make them think I'm crazy.
You have some uncomfortable eye contact.
But yeah. By eye contact, that's none, or it looks like you're going to leap. But just be a person. Just be like, a person.
Yeah. It was very uncomfortable because I logged into the other email address and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of emails. And I read through, I was like, how do I jump in on this? And that seemed like, A, seemed like I give a fuck, which I do, obviously. B,
not really.
Yes, I do. So I had to figure out what I could.
You should have sent everybody the promo. You know, some of these people love promos.
They fucking all love promos in this business.
Promos.
But see, here's the beauty of this: the repackaging is what they like because it's like, oh, we're getting a whole new thing, and not having to do a lot to get it. And this gives us a chance to take these things that we've done well with, repackage it, and then all those people have bosses, so they like to send it all on there, but. Chris never sends stuff to his bosses. Never. And then they see him in here, ate it light, 8 at night, and somebody told me they said it was like saying Quasimodo. You know what I mean? They thought it looked like. Now, why are you hitting on a vape doing this? Because I'm sending this entire conversation to them.
Why? Don't do
Because
that.
I want them to know what I think of you is that you're fantastic.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate that very much.
They, on the other hand, go like this. Please give me the chance to pull the trigger.
They say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That
a lot of times, if I have something to tell them too, I'll go, "Hey, here's a chance for you to pull the trigger."
That's how you start the conversation.
Yeah. Someone said that one of the later shows came in here and you were just sleeping.
That was
they say sprawled out.
Yeah.
They said on the floor, but you claim it was on a couch.
It was on a couch, Ron.
And they said that he had passed out, and they didn't know whether it was a sugar diabetes or alcohol or fentanyl patch.
That's how I introduced him to Nerese when she came in the second semester and I was the first semester intern. And I was like, oh, let me go introduce you to Chris. I came to the studio and there used to be a recliner in here. And he was passed the fuck.
I had pneumonia. All right, I wasn't just like passing.
Is that why you ate all the M&Ms that she gave me?
No.
And then threw away the cup, the personalized cup. Though my mind is going through them changes. Well, I thought that you were going to email this out first, Chris, to let everybody on the unmasked email list know that we have a major star for the next Unmasked, one we've been wanting to do for a lot of years. And I'm going to let you introduce it, Chris.
An Evening with Ricky Gervais, hosted by Ron Bennington, is happening next Wednesday, September 26th at 5 p.m. at the Village Underground in New York City. You go to theinterrobang.com for a chance at free tickets.
Yes! Woo! Ricky Gervais. Woo! Go to theinterrobang.com. Now, this is one that everybody at the Comedy Cellar is like, I can't believe you got this. Ricky Gervais has never been to the Comedy Cellar in his life. And obviously, they would love to have him. But they're all really looking forward to Ricky coming in.
That's awesome. You would I'm shocked he's not one of the people that's done like a drop in or anything.
Everybody is shocked by that. A couple people tell me Ricky likes to get to bed early. I'm like, there's a 6 o'clock show there. You know what I mean?
Do the 6 o'clock shows and stuff get drop ins?
The first time I went down to do Noam's podcast, it was like 6:15, and I'm in the middle of the podcast, and he normally does it at the comics table or right next. And they have that little TV that shows you what's going on downstairs so the comics can look up and know where they are in the show. And I look up, and Amy Schumer is just taking the stage, and it's like 6:15. She's the first comic on at a 6 o'clock show, and I could just see these hands going up and people going fucking crazy, because that's all they really want in life. They want the major drop in, and they don't even care about the comedy part. A lot of them are taking a trip to New York. They want a celebrity to come out, wave, and then walk away. They'd be happy with that. Oh, but this was very funny. So I'm watching the Emmys last night, and Che had done all those jokes at the Cellar and just reading them off of his phone. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't even trying to sell it.
Yeah.
He's like, is this funny? And he would read it, the jokes that he had written off his phone. And I've seen that happen a couple times, and I always find that to be fun as shit. Like people will come by, and if they're doing like a celebrity roast, they'll just go like this. All right. So Bruce Willis is going to be sitting there, and I'm going to say Bruce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'll just read it off, and it's always really funny. And then you'll run and watch the roast later to see how it did.
I saw Amy Schumer warming up for when she hosted the VMAs one year, and it was that same thing where they're like, oh, I see Cardi B, that kind of thing, and it's just so weird to hear because you're not.
Well, everyone also does their Fallon shows there. You know what I mean? Their Tonight Show things. They'll come in and just do the 5 minutes and leave exactly the way that they're going to do it. They just run it. They run it on a pretty constant level as much as they possibly can. And a lot of times, if somebody is hosting SNL, they'll come down and do stuff for it.
Oh, I didn't know people tried out their monologuers.
Particularly the comics. You're not exactly going to see a sports star, Mr. Nick Foles,
Drop it.
backup quarterback with a Super Bowl ring. Man, I always knew the second he loses a game,
Yeah.
you're out. Bring in the redhead. All right, so Ricky Gervais is the next Unmasked. Tell people how to get that.
That's happening next Wednesday, September 26th, 5 p.m. at the Village Underground in New York City. You go to the interrobang.com for a chance at free tickets for Ricky Gervais.
That's going to be so much fun. This is when I wanted to do it for a long time. By the way, Brewer was just, he was amazing.
Yeah.
He was really, really amazing. And we'll be playing that on Friday. Were you surprised when you heard him bring up that he had started at my club?
Yeah, I had no idea because I looked at him as like a Long Island guy. So
He is a Long Island guy.
I didn't think he went down to
His
Florida.
parents moved down there, so he moved down and used to come into my club before, and he was getting laughs. I mean, he was really raw, but he was getting laughs as an open mic guy, so we brought him in to do either short sets on the weekends or some emceeing and stuff like that. But look what he's done with his career. It's really fucking fascinating. Sky in Texas. Sky.
And
Hey, what's up?
how are y'all doing?
Good, man.
I had an album recommendation for you for your granddaughter.
Oh, this is exciting. Not a lot of people have album recommendations for somebody who's 2 months old. By the way,
It's
isn't this 2
called-
months going fast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I heard you say Goo Goo Gaga earlier,
Yeah.
when talking about her. There's an album called Traffic Jams by Joe Scruggs,
Mm-hmm.
and the second song on the album is called Goo Goo Gaga, and it is hilarious.
All right.
And it's great for adults and kids.
All right. So for the whole family.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace. I'm going to forget about that immediately. She really doesn't say goo goo. At 2 months old, she's trying to form words. It looks like she says, leave me alone or stop trying to make me laugh. At least that's what I'm picking up out of it. Earl, you got a lot of nieces and nephews? Let's try to guess how many. Like it was whatever that stupid show on where people...
Price is Right?
Yeah, I guess so. Doesn't matter what it is when they guess stuff. So you go ahead.
I'm going to guess 8.
5.
I'm going to go way higher than 8. I was going to go as high as 17, but I'll say 9 like they do on Price is Right, just to cock block you. Earl, how many?
I have 9 nieces.
Oh, all nieces?
9 nieces, 8 nephews.
Holy shit, you said 17.
And that's how many you have? 17?
17 nieces and nephews.
Wow. Wow. And all below poverty line.
Yeah, not far off.
Do any of the children live with their natural father? My friend, I don't want to say her name, but I'll just give the initial. It's Jenny Q. Every time we worry about the state of America and we battle back and forth, because she used to be a progressive and now she's a hardline Trump Republican. But she always believes that the problem is black fathers outing themselves on the family. And I don't want to give away what her actual name is. So I gave you a short one.
Okay.
So do any of your nieces and nephews live with their natural?
No, they're all grown up now. They're all adults.
Did they grow up with... so do you have any great nieces and nephews?
Yes, I do.
How many?
We've actually lost count. It's about...
That's the family problem she was talking about.
No, we were trying to... my father and I
Your
were trying
father doesn't know how many great-grandchildren he has.
It's ridiculous.
I think we're up to 18. I have one nephew. I have one nephew. He has 5 daughters alone.
Right, fathers
We've actually lost count. Last count was 18.
he's lost count of his own daughters. By the way, men and women can have children, Earl. I know that's shocking to you, since you will not do it. You said it feels gushy. He's got a big family, and you literally have 0 in your family.
0, not 1. Not 1.
Do you know how many guests I can't wait to tell them that you're an endling? Anytime you'll see me like, Going back to I'm still as amazed as the first day I heard.
It doesn't amaze me so much, but like Earl talking about that, saying how many there are, I just thought like, wow, that's dozens of people, and then they'll know each other, and now I have nothing. They're all
just know each
fucking
other.
dead.
They're family.
Yes. He doesn't understand what a family does. He thinks they're just people that know each other, you know, by reputation. Yes. He doesn't have as many Facebook friends as Earl has nieces and nephews. Hey, G-Man. What's happening?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Finally drying out from that fucking storm.
Dude, you sent it up here. It was fucking teeming in New York City today. Teeming.
Hey, Ronnie B, yesterday on the Best Of, there was a segment that was embarrassing things that you should have known that you learned later in life. Didn't know if you wanted to hear another one that happened to me.
I would love it.
So just this weekend, hurricane's coming. My wife says, hey, let's make some cookies and some cupcakes and let's bake. All right, roger that. I'll go to the store, not a problem. Well, I cook in my household. I don't fucking bake. She sends me to the grocery store for cupcake mix. I stand there looking at the fucking cake mixes for 10 minutes looking for cupcake mix. Finally realized after about 10, 12, 14 minutes that cake mix and cupcake mix are the same fucking thing.
It's just a smaller cake.
Just a smaller fucking version. And it took me 10 minutes to figure that out.
I'll tell you right now, I love a fucking homemade cupcake. I love a warm cupcake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess your aunt makes that for you, Chris?
No one makes
Grandmama?
that. None of them, Ron. They're all gone.
Did you used to refer to your parents as mother and father like you're a rich child? Mother, father. All right, thank you for that, G-Man. Peace. There's always new time, you know? I always like to say this, an education is a lifelong fucking thing. I say fucking thing.
I'm going to write that down.
I think that rain gave me a fucking headache today.
That could happen, the barometric pressure.
I didn't know that. Barometric gives you headaches, huh?
Yeah, it
All
could,
right.
yeah.
Do you know exactly what barometric pressure is?
It's like the pressure of the water in the air, I believe.
Pressure of the water in the air. That's how
the water or air. It has to do with water and air. And pressure.
Right.
And barometry.
Where should it be, and where is it today?
I'm not sure where it should be, but I believe because of the rain, it's higher, which might affect your head. It definitely, like when it rains in the morning, I shit.
You gave me a bare amount of thought, concern. You just thought I'll throw out barometric pressure, and it looks like I have some interest in Ron's headache. Then I'll act like, I could have gotten you dry socks down the street. Chris, the reason that you don't have family is in each of their own way they committed suicide.
Good God.
Or genocide.
Very specific genocide.
Oh, Larry Yonkers gave a nice picture from yesterday's Unmasked. He was sitting right at my toes, as was Maureen in her 70s kind of rock look. Oh, look, it's Anna from Minneapolis, which has got to be perfect of a name. This would, Chris, this would be like your name. It's like if there was a Manny from Manhattan,
all right.
You know what I mean? Or a QWERTY from Queens, which I'm going to put you. You don't even think of yourself as living in Queens, though. I notice you never say you live in Queens. You say you live in Astoria.
Yeah, I specifically say Astoria because Astoria is different from a lot of Queens. Queens is gigantic.
I understand that, but it is Queens, and you like. I'm from America. I'm not embarrassed about it.
All the buildings look the same in Queens, Ron. He's lying.
You know what I noticed when I was down in Philly the other day? The row houses there do not look like the townhouses here. They're very, to me, specific, and I'll say Delaware Valley, because you can run them, on the Jersey side, like Camden will have those kind of row houses, and Trenton. and you'll see it all the way down to Wilmington, Delaware. You'll see it in Chester, but you don't see it in most cities, and I don't know why that is. Maybe I can do a documentary about that.
I was very like I know you talked about the row houses. Then when I saw them, I was like, oh, that's a row house, because I expected kind of like the ones in Queens, because there are houses that are directly next to each other, but it looked totally different.
Some row houses are basically one building, and others are just kind of slapped together, but no one ever calls them a townhouse by mistake. They are different than a townhouse. So let's go to Anna in Annapolis. Anna, how are you?
Hi, buddies.
Hey, buddy girl.
You know what it is in Philly? It's that shitty fake brick that they use.
There is plenty of fake brick, shitty fake brick there. There's no doubt about it.
It's a distinct look.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ronnie B, we got to see Van Morrison perform on Sunday night, and I wondered if you'd ever seen him.
Yes, I have. I saw him when he was much younger, but just a tremendous soulful singer, right?
Holy cow, man. Like, I hate the cliche term like bucket list, but I didn't think I would get to see him. I didn't even think he toured, and if I ever did get to see him, I thought it would be something small, like 930 Club in D.C., or they do shows out of the Jewish synagogue in the basement.
Right.
So I thought something like that, but he played at Jiffy Lube out in Bristow, near Manassas. So he was out there, and it was packed. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if it hadn't sold out. But, I mean, incredible.
Well, he's a big beloved act, and he's been a star for, decades and decades, like 5 or 6 different decades now.
Yeah, it was super cool, and he played a lot of the cool, like the warm love, and a lot of the stuff that you're never going to hear on the radio.
Right.
And he sounded fantastic. He's just so freaking cool.
Well, he's got a beautiful voice, and he's incredibly soulful, and you can hear him do songs that you're not familiar with, and go, "This is literally breaking my heart right now. This is just kills me." This humanistic thing that he has to singing, whether it's country, jazz, rock and roll, blues. It's just amazing how he connects. Now, Earl, I always try to turn Earl into Van Morrison. He goes, "Well, Van isn't black. I only admire black singers."
So he's out.
And yet, to me, he's one of the blackest sounding singers that we have. I don't think young people are as soulfully driven. They're doing the scales or whatever that they're doing. They might have wonderful voices, but that soul work is missing.
He's always he uses as his barometer. He goes, "I only listen to the greats, the Ray Charleses, the Sam Cookes," and he
belongs with them. He literally belongs in that
he
crew.
goes, "If I'm shooting for that sound. I'm shooting for that feel."
And you can tell that. So his Pandora station has a ton of that. Like, so if you listen to his Pandora station, it's obviously some of his stuff, but all of those kind of influences, it's all there, which is super cool.
He is indeed super cool. Well, I'm glad you had that experience.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks, buddies. Love you guys.
Bye, buddy girl. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. I always like it when you go to a live show and you connect with that singer in a way that you didn't expect to. What are you trying to tell me? That there's nothing we can do about it?
As of right now, no. Not for maybe another 10 minutes. It's updating.
Can't stop okay.
That. Yeah.
I hate computers.
I know.
Did I ever tell you that?
Once or twice.
We've got a director coming in who did a Gilda movie.
Yeah, Lisa Dapolito.
I can't be it, right?
That is it.
Dapolito?
Dapolito.
Okay. And they sent me so many different screeners because none of the screeners would connect. And I fucking hate I love a screening room, and I despise a screening on a computer. I just despise it. They act like I'm trying to steal from them and run off copies, and I'm not. And there's no fucking evidence that says I've ever attempted this. But they're constantly, okay, no, you can't get in.
And this
is only for the people that it's supposed to be.
You only get like 1 or 2 looks, and then that means you can't like stop and look at it again. Yeah. What if your internet crashes?
Thank you. And the screening room is so fucking classy. They're just disappearing in this city.
The first time I went to one of those, it just blew my mind how just great the seats are comfortable. They're spaced far apart.
They're really nice.
The movie just starts.
You don't want to know the truth. I've probably did it hundreds, if not 1,000 times. And I was like, this is one of the best things about living in New York. I'm seeing this in this environment, and now that's gone. That's quickly gone. And there was a screening room around the corner that, well, two. One in the Brill Building and one right around the corner here. I don't remember.
Magno.
Both of them had been in the city. One had been in the city for 70 fucking years. And it's gone. And that's another thing that computers have disrupted where they're going, well, this will be better. No, you can watch it from your house. Oh, and I forgot to put this. P.S. Fuck you. Life is now worse. This is why people become cranky old men, because they see something better replaced with something worse. Now, here's something else I've noticed. You're looking at some empty stadiums in football now, right?
Yeah.
And we've never had that. And everyone was blaming it on the flag, blah, blah, blah. Look at college football. There's fucking empty stadiums in places. Stanford versus USC, the first game of the year. Both top 10 teams. And I'm looking at fucking the Stanford Stadium and going, where the hell are the people? Washington, D.C., I live there. I used to make fun of them for being so optimistic. Every year, they thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Every game, they thought they were going to win. And I'm like, I can't even have a conversation with you. You know what I mean? Like, I can look at my team, the Eagles, and go, well, we're not as good as we were last year. Yeah. Doesn't mean I don't want them to win, but I'm a fucking adult. I'm a sensible person. I can look at them and go, well, what's wrong with the defense? Oh, the offense isn't Jim. Oh, we've got some injuries. The Redskins fans were so optimistic. And to see that stadium this early in the year empty was fucking shocking to me.
Do you think it's because the NCAA backlash right now is worse than it's ever been?
I think
because college students are some of the people who hate it the most right now.
I think that football in general has peaked. People aren't going to high school games. When I was a kid, I don't care what town you lived in, the fucking Friday night or Saturday morning was built. You had a town where even if you didn't have kids, you went to the game. You went to the fucking game. People used to have their town built around that high school game. And that is gone. Obviously, people don't want their children to play high school football now.
Yeah, and I think year after year, just the amount of kids actually signing up for high school football is just plummeting.
Yeah.
Not only that, but so is the school band. So was cheerleading. So was everything that this thing was built around. Like high school band used to be fucking massive when I was a kid. Oh, the way our town was fucking proud of our high school band. The pride that they had. And there was a certain point of the show where the fucking girls would light their batons on fire and go running out in front of the band. And then they would do this same song every year where they would slow down and then speed up the song. And you would look around and adults would have tears in their eyes. And they were wearing their old stupid high school jackets. They're like, I can't fucking believe this. It's still happening. And you go down there now, no one gives a shit. People who lived in that town moved. People who moved to that town don't fucking care about it as much. They're like, I'm just living here until I can put some money together, get a nicer place. And that's what I'm fucking trying to tell you. The connectedness, because of this fucking thing that you love here, this little social media machine has disconnected us. And live football is not as exciting as it used to be for people. It just isn't.
Yeah, just watching anything live in general isn't as fun anymore. Because like streaming now, you can't talk about a TV show to somebody now like you used to be able to, because you don't know what episode they're on. It used to just be, oh, did you see this show last week? Night? Now it's like I don't know what I can and can't say to you because you might only be on episode 2.
Have you guys heard of this show called? I think it's called Forever, and it's got Fred Armisen and I forget who the girl is. She was also from the show. You guys have never
I've heard of the show. No.
So it's on Netflix. So I put it on, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this. Maybe I like this. And then there was a swerve at the end. And I'm like, oh, I thought the show was about this, the first episode, but it's about. And then I watched it, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. And then there was a swerve at the end of the second episode. So I went on to the third. Before I know it, I watched their whole fucking season on a Saturday morning.
You binge watched.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I just didn't turn it off. Wasn't a show that I wanted to see. At the end of it, I'm like, oh, I guess I like some. But they had put in how long to fucking do this? And, 2 hours later, I'm done with their entire experience.
I forgot the number that they have, but they said something like more than 60% of Netflix viewers watch the entire season of a show in the first week it comes out.
What are you saying again? I don't even understand.
So, like,
this.
60% or more of viewers will watch the entire season within the first week it's out. Like, it's done right away.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
And then there'll be like a second wave of people who've been bugged into watching it by their friends.
Yeah, like Stranger Things. Everybody watched Stranger Things that first week it came out.
No one talked about season 2.
Because it sucked.
Everyone talked about season 1. No one discussed
and nobody
season
knew
2.
it was coming out. It was one of those shows that just dropped on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then people watched it the first weekend, and it was everybody was like, you have to watch it. You have to watch it.
Do you notice all these shows like, remember the one where women are forced to have babies show?
Handmaid's Tale?
Thank you. No one talked about season 2.
Yeah, it's because
no one. Everyone told you're not watching Handmaid's Tale? That's unfucking believable. You got to see Handmaid's Tale. Hey, Matt from Tennessee.
Hey, Ron. I think that when you and I were growing up, we were outside playing these sports all the time. We were interested in them, and we grew up watching them and playing them. Now, with these millennial generation, they're at home from childhood playing their video games online.
It's
Facebook,
Nintendo.
Twitter, all this
That's
shit.
what the fuck this is. But here's the other thing that's happened too. Like when you were a kid, you used to play every sport of the season. And now at a very young age, there'll just be one sport kids. I didn't know anyone who played football who also didn't play basketball and baseball.
Yeah.
And probably fucking street hockey. You know what I mean? Like there was never like, no, I'm committing myself to being a fucking shortstop. I never heard of that before. Hey, Jameson, what's up?
What's up, fellas? Just to piggyback off of that, similar point, I played hockey growing up, and I recently went back to play, and my buddy was coaching. My buddy that I grew up playing with, he was coaching his kid. And I said, how are these guys? And he said, they suck. They're not creative because they don't play in the street like we did every day of the week. They're little robots that just play video games, so their creativity is just non-existent. So I think it's an interesting point.
They're also into, it's drilled in them the formatics of every fucking position. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a lot less fun if you're thinking about footwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you, like on a pro level, I can understand why you want to cut off something and, have that robotic way of fucking turning to. But when you're a kid playing, none of that shit comes up. But now it does for children that are 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean? They're being told they have bad form.
Yeah, they run most of them run like academies and stuff, not just like learn how to play the sport by playing
stupid.
it. Just like go to this basketball academy. And then if you do well in the academy, you might get picked for the travel team. It's not just play the sports from like a peewee level all the way up to high school.
Why do you want to be on a travel team? You know who you want to fucking beat? You want to beat the guys that live one town over. No one gives a shit if you beat some team from Northern California. You're not going to see them later in school. That's what you want to fucking do. You know what I mean? That's the real thrill in life. The Chai Sun Valley Thanksgiving Day game. That's the thrill. But if you're saying Chai and some fucking team from Ohio, who gives a shit? Who even knows those dudes? Matt from Oklahoma.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Yeah, I can't even hardly stand. Maybe it's because of my phone or YouTube, but I can't hardly stand to watch commercials anymore. It's just so many of them. It takes up half the time of any program.
I don't know how people can be in that fucking business now, knowing that the commercial may not be seen. I don't know how you say to someone, we're going to sell you airtime when people don't watch commercials.
Like Geico did a commercial a few years ago where they just freeze framed the logo, and they were like, we're going to freeze frame this logo because when you're fast forwarding it, you'll see it. I thought most companies were just going to do that from now on, because if everybody's fast forwarding, if you're at least flashing the logo, you see what's being advertised. But most people don't. Like, I've said to somebody, "Do you see this funny commercial?" They're like, "I haven't seen a commercial in 2 years."
They brag about it.
Yeah, they're like, "I'm a fucking hotshot."
They're lying. They
DVR.
watch the Super Bowl.
I watch things 20 minutes
That's
late.
one fucking game a year, Chris.
What?
But sports is the only thing that you're going to be stuck in a commercial.
Yeah.
I'm normally jumping back over into red zone during that.
And sports is fun because you still get local commercials while you're watching the game.
Yeah, but your local commercials are still run out of Madison Avenue.
We have some really shitty local New York City commercials.
I like any fucking New Jersey spa that just looks like a jizz palace. Hey, Chuck, what's up?
Hey, Ronnie, I was just going to ask you, man, have you seen the damn quarterback for LSU football?
No.
That motherfucker looks just like Jim Brewer. His name's Joe Burrow or Murrow or something.
All right, we're looking it up
his
right
head-
now.
Goddamn, he looks just fucking like him, man. I couldn't believe it.
There's a resemblance there.
Maybe in the eyes.
Yeah, it looks like his nose and his face. And he was talking about them travel teams and all that shit. That's just a money-making shit, man. That's all it is. Those coaches, those AAU teams and all that, that's just a fucking money grabs, all that is.
Well,
all the pussies at the home games.
Yeah, there is truth that these parents, they feel like they want to give their children everything, every step up in life. So, but I mean, if you even look at singers, today's pop singers, you find out that they were all singers since they were 3 years old. Like Elvis was a fucking hillbilly who just wandered into a studio. You know what I mean? He'd been driving a truck around. No way that fucking Gladys thought that she had some kind of little fucking star that she could mold. But that Uptown Funk kid, there's fucking tape of him when he was like 2 years old. They were fucking shooting him with darts so he would be able to dance properly.
Yeah, he was an Elvis impersonator, and I think in Hawaii, and then his family was running like a resort or something.
Yeah, I mean that's all. Like, what's the fucking cute little girl that wears the cat ears?
Ariana Grande.
Yeah, there's like she's been doing this since like I don't know whether she remembers not being a singer and a performer.
And then like Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato like started on Barney when they were like little kids.
And
then I guess it's like just Disney's been running people out for years, like Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears. They all
That's why that Orlando sound happened. They were just grabbing those kids off of Disney. So like all those, Justin Timberlakes and all that came out of that boy band sound was all because that guy was like, hey, let's just keep running fucking open mic nights down here. It was kind of a brilliant fucking pedophile thing to pull off for him.
Even acting, because Ryan Gosling started in the Mickey Mouse Disney machine too.
Yeah.
And now he's who he is.
Yeah. But he wouldn't have fucking made it if his fucking parents didn't put firecrackers on his fucking heels and make him just jump around for the Disney people. So that's what I'm saying to you. Grab your kids early and try to turn them into a fucking ATM machine. No. The chances of you making it are so slim. The only thing you could do is have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah. Because it's not just about talent now. It's about talent and like being groomed and built since you figured out you had the talent at like 3.
In kindergarten, my family sent me to a radio school. And I went in there and I was just like cutting promos and all. I look back at some of that stuff. I'm like kind of embarrassed. But, now I guess I'm glad that they did it. Hey, Wayne in Alberta. Wayne.
How's it going, guys? How are you today?
Good.
Good. I just, reflecting on what you're saying there about how people don't show up to the football games and that anymore. But, in my mind, don't you think that it's been it's been engineered that way over the decades with the way the education system's gone and how everybody has gone from being a community oriented into being. It started with being a somebody, right, way back in the day.
Oh.
And how they individualize all the people now. So now you don't have that sense of community. You don't have that sense of belonging. And
I think people move. I think it comes down to it's very easy to move. And a lot of communities used to be fifth generation. And people wouldn't think, fucking Bruce Springsteen had to write a song called Board Don't Run to try to wake up kids in New Jersey to get the fuck out of there. You don't even have to tell people now. People live wherever they live.
And a lot of people will move, like especially with sports and stuff, they'll move their kid to a different town where that sport is.
That happens in Florida and in South, like Southern California a lot, where people will go, I need him to be a year-round baseball player. And I got news for you. Still not going to be better than the Dominicans. You know what I mean? Those Dominicans are a machine now.
I know it's a different level, but like some people think LeBron moved to LA because the high school basketball program at that age is better than anywhere else in the country. Like people sell out those high school basketball games.
I tried to tell people that you cannot understand how competitive people in California are with sport.
Yeah.
They're rich and competitive at the same time.
That's why their college teams are that's their biggest pride is that it's the Lakers. The Lakers are number one, and then it's like USC football.
I think, and that's why no one ever missed them not having a pro team. People loved USC football. I don't know whether it's going to be as big. I'm telling you, go look at college things, and a lot of those people are. They're still great teams. So what the fuck happened? Why aren't people showing up anymore? Jake in Florida, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm a teacher and a coach down here, and I see exactly what you guys are talking about. Beginning of the season, we had about 116 kids come out. 2 weeks in, about 35. They find out real fast it's not Madden, it's not the clips on YouTube and whatnot, and then they just quit. So it's happening more and more, and right on.
It's certainly hard for most kids to get good at a sport. It really does take a lot of years, particularly baseball. To be able to fucking catch a ball coming off a bat is nothing you could teach an adult. You have to be a little kid and just running at that ball over and over until after a while you just start to pick up on it. But if you took a 22-year-old person who never played baseball and said, I'm going to hit some fucking grounders and some fucking line drives and fly balls, they wouldn't be able to pick up on it, But I remember being a little kid. I played a lot of sandlot. My whole neighborhood went out. In the summer, we played baseball all day. When it got colder, we played basketball all day. And then when it got colder than that, we played football all day. We just fucking did it these abandoned fields near us, right? Then when I started to play like Little League and shit like that, and a line drive fucking happened, and went off some kid's head, we all started laughing, and the fucking coach is like, what are you talking about? We're like, well, he just fucking missed the ball. You know what I mean? Like, we were not that caught up in who won the Sandlot game. They had to teach us, you lost, feel bad about yourself. Because the Sandlot game would sometimes go on for either 3 innings or 32 innings. We didn't fucking know. Kids would come and go. It wasn't until uniforms that I ever saw a kid crying about a fucking game,
Kids now, like I said to you guys before, like in a birthday party, kids will get crazy competitive and start crying. I never got that into, like, being on a team is one thing, but when we're just playing a game for fun, I just don't get the fucking point of getting so bent out of shape over it.
It's because it's happening in front of the adults. You know what I mean? No one wants to lose in front of their mom. My mom never saw me playing baseball until I put on a fucking uniform. Then she's showing up with a little fucking lawn chair. Come on. You're like, what? What are you doing here? Ray from Georgia.
Hey, my grandson is 3, and we put him in soccer. Not to play soccer, basically to learn a few things. I went to his first little soccer game last week, and the amount of parents losing their shit because a 3-year-old couldn't kick the soccer ball in the right goal. One of the coaches lost her shit. I'm like, no wonder kids don't want to play sports. You're going to scream at a at a 3-year-old because they were going in the wrong direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And there's nothing funnier than a bunch of kids just kicking. They're in a goddamn
my
crowd and they're
grandson
kicking.
he was laying on the ground, picking the weeds out of the ground, and my
that
wife
shit
was
should be
yelling at him.
hysterical to all of us. You know what I mean?
That's what I said. He's 3. He's having a good time.
I mean, even at 13. A 13-year-old doing that should still be funny. Yeah, there's no reason. There's no reason for the adults to care whether the team wins or loses.
And that age, it's the most fun watching kids who don't give a shit about, like you said, the 13-year-old. If you're watching like a high school game, it's fun to find the one kid you can tell, like, oh, he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Like, it's always a really funny thing to see. And then little kids just running in circles and shit.
Yeah.
While like one kid is like trying to be good.
But these parents are like, this is a reflection of me. Everyone thinks I'm not good at soccer. Fucking weirdos.
The amount of times I've heard parents scream, finish, and it's a fucking like 8-year-old soccer party.
And you're not even a league.
No, and I'm not even a soccer coach. That's like another thing. I barely know the rules. I'm sitting there just pretending to ref this game.
I'm going to be honest. You're barely a person, Vito.
I try.
Anyone who leaves their children with you on these weekends at the pier, they should lose those kids. What is it, Chris? The Gervais? Is that what you want to talk about? Or why are you giving me a thing? She's not here yet, right?
Just arrived.
She's not supposed to be here for another 7 minutes. Ricky Gervais, Unmasked.
That's host. That's Unmasked with Ricky Gervais. It's happening next Wednesday, September 26th at 5 p.m. at the Village Underground in New York City. Go to theinterrobang.com for a chance at free tickets.
I think this is going to be the social event of the season. Ricky Gervais finally coming to the Comedy Cellar after all these years.
I can't wait.
You're not coming.
What? I thought I was going to be working and like helping. And
did you feel like you worked or helped during the Jim Bureau?
I did. The pre-parts.
I didn't see Earl until a half hour after it. Was Earl very helpful?
Yeah, Earl was great.
Good, Earl. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you're mixing with the other producers. I hate to see you standing off by yourself like a lonely boy. All right, coming up in just a couple of moments, there's a brand new documentary called Love, Gilda that opens in theaters across the United States this Friday, September 21st. LoveGilda.com for all theater information. I've been a Gilda Radner fan, my whole adult life. And I'd never seen any of this stuff. This was like a lot of home movies, a lot of early stuff. And I, to this day, love Gilda Radner. Love her. Like literally in love with her. So this thing is pretty spectacular. Now, Chris, have we ever look into that documentary called Hal?
Yes, we're looking to get a screener for it, yes. Earl and I have been on it.
Earl, you told me it's only playing once in the city.
Yeah, it's at the IFC Center. It shows at 12:25.
When? Tonight?
No, in the afternoon.
And that's it?
That's it.
It's insane.
I know.
What is that, to give it some kind of Oscar fucking chance to show once?
Yeah, they probably just set a selected time for.
He's one of my favorite directors of all time. So, who do we got coming in, Chris?
We have Lisa D'Appolito, the director of Love, Gilda, which opens across theaters across the United States.
Across theaters.
Opens in theaters across the United States this Friday, September 21st.
You said it opens across theaters, Chris. Let's break. We'll be right back with her, Bennington.
Lisa D'Appolito's in studio. Love, Gilda opens in theaters across the United States this Friday, September 21st. Go to lovegilda.com for all theater information.
Lisa, congratulations on this film. And perfectly named, because I do love Gilda and always have. But you found that it looks like with everybody that you interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who, I talked to about 80 of Gilda's friends, and everybody loved Gilda, except for one person, but people had warned me that she was a little crazy.
Really?
Yeah. She said that Gilda was jealous of her because Mick Jagger liked her better. So no one believes that story.
But you know what I thought was really interesting too? It looked like everybody all the women who had done Saturday Night Live since then were trying to do their own Gilda. You know what I mean? Like they were like, well, this is where Gilda was.
Well, there's kind of an old saying that says if you want to be somewhere, find somebody who's there and kind of follow their path.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a little bit like it. And also the road to comedy is really paved with improvisational theater like Second City and places like that, and then Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. I mean, that is the dream. That's obviously the big leagues, but so few people ever get to do that. I Love Gilda is a documentary, and like I had always read everything there was to read about Gilda and that early days of SNL, but I saw so many home movies and pictures and stuff that I never saw before.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, Gilda's brother gave me access to boxes that were in storage since Gilda passed away, and so in those boxes were some audio tapes and a home movie, and that became like the basis of the collection. And then I just went on a mission to find home movies and interviews and writings and letters from people. So that kind of became the unique and exciting part of the film.
It's also funny, but it's all crazy heartbreaking at the same time. There's something about her that just breaks her heart.
Yeah, I mean, she was such a wonderful, loving, good person, and she had such insecurities, which also surprised me, because you think of smiling Gilda, you think of her, so I think she's beautiful. And she felt so, in some ways, insecure about her looks and insecure about who she was as a human being.
Well, one of my favorite people to have in is Alan Swibel, because he will talk endlessly about Gilda with you, and he'll give you such detail to all the stories, and they're all mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like where she was as a kid, and what she was doing, and the people that she was with. It's truly a golden age of comedy that she came up in.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it all started in Toronto. With the cast of Godspell, and with Martin Short and all these amazing
Eugene
Victor Garber,
Levy, Paul Schaefer.
Yeah, and then also she met Dan Aykroyd there,
right?
And then the combination of Godspell and then Second City. Then you bring in like Bill Murray and John Belushi, and then Harold Ramis and National Lampoon. So there's kind of a legacy of all these amazing comedy legacy that leads up to like SNL.
And they all adored her. They all adored her, and if they didn't date her, they thought of her as a sister. And some of them thought of her as a sister that they also dated. You know what I mean? They would be friends for a while, then they would date her, and then they would go back to being friends.
It was the 70s.
Yes, it was the 70s. When I was a kid, I got tickets to see her do a play, and it was down in Wilmington. It was a play that was going to be coming to Broadway. And it was, so this theater at the Hotel DuPont had this play with her, and I couldn't afford these tickets. I got it. I took my girlfriend, and I just sat and watched Gilda the whole time. I didn't pay attention to the play. I'm sitting 15, 20 feet away from Gilda. I found out years later, because I went and looked it up online. Sam Waterston was in that play. Mike Nichols directed it. But all I did was look at Gilda. That's the way an entire generation, I think, of young guys felt about her.
That's so interesting, because that's Martin Short says it in the film, and that's what people say. All your attention goes to Gilda.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you to this day what that play was about. And I had one of the greatest nights of my life just staring at her. But I don't know whether that ever sank in with her, right? She didn't quite understand.
I think that as a performer, she was 100% confident. And she loved audiences. She loved to give to audience, and she loved to receive from audience. So I think professionally, it probably did sink in.
Yeah. And I still think we were robbed of seeing what would have been her best work. I'm sure of that. The stuff that you show when she did Shandling's show, you just get a little bit of what could have been of her in her middle years.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I heard, and also from some of the materials I have, it looked like she was developing a show. And she was an amazing writer. And she wrote a screenplay. So so much more could have happened in Gilda's life. To me, I think she would have been a talk show host.
Really?
Yeah, because she loved people.
Yeah.
And she, everywhere she met, people have told me that, oh, I met Gilda on a bus. I met Gilda on a plane. I met Gilda at a gas station. Like, she seemed to be this open and friendly person who wanted to hear other people's stories.
I always thought that she would have had somewhere in between Lucy and Julie Louis-Dreyfus. I think that she would have been able to just keep doing sitcoms, and America would have shown up for them. And there, obviously there is, the cancer cut everything short, but Gene Wilder, of course, kind of took her away from the kind of work. And I'm going to say this. I'm not sure he was the best thing for her, because I read his book. I didn't like the way he talked about her.
Yeah, I mean, from the film's point of view, Gilda loved Gene.
Yeah.
She adored him. So I stuck to her storyline.
Right.
And then the movies they made together were not the best work for Gilda.
No, they were not the best work, and he was the director. And I just feel like, and I wish the movie would have ended this way. If she would have ended up with me, something wonderful would have happened. I do think there's a lot of people who thought I could have saved, and that's probably cuckoo stuff as well, right?
Well, you mean in terms of the cancer?
Not even the cancer, but just made her happy, because you see, Marty Short or Bill Murray. I mean, she was with these people that adored her, and yet it never worked out.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of self-love.
Yeah.
Sometimes finding the wrong people. But she did love Gene, and he did take good care of her. Like even Alan would say when she had cancer, she took good care of him. Whether they would have stayed together or not, most people say probably not.
But you agree with me that he doesn't talk that nice about her, right?
Well, I did read the book.
Yeah.
So that was very upsetting. But so that's why I really tried to not get involved in the relationship and try to just keep it from, because I think Gilda, I talked to her friends about this, and what would Gilda want from a film? So that was kind of something on my mind the whole time. I think she would have wanted her relationship with Gene portrayed the way it was.
Yeah.
I didn't think she would want it portrayed a different way.
And like you certainly said, sometimes women can love better. You know what I mean? Women can love better than men can. And when that book came out, I was supposed to talk with Gene, and I was really going to, I'm not going to say confront, but I was going to go in deep of why he would send those things. And then supposedly what happened is he was too exhausted and it was closer to the end of his life. But I'm not even sure if he realized how bad some of those things came off.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I did spend a day with him before he passed away, and I really enjoyed. I mean, he told me wonderful stories about
He's one
Gilda.
of the great artists, comic artists of all time. But those passages in that book really annoyed me.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of that early SNL, and you're a fan of Gilda Radner's, love Gilda. And again, I feel like I have read everything that's ever been done about Gilda in my life, and I saw so much in this film that I had never seen before. It was quite amazing to me.
Oh, thank you.
What made you follow this story of Gilda?
Well, I mean, I always knew Gilda and how she was an amazing comedian and her characters. But I started doing fundraising videos for Gilda's Club down on Houston Street in New York City. And so many of the members have read her book. Her murals are all over the place. There's sort of a presence of Gilda. And when I would interview the members for fundraising videos, they would talk to about Gilda, and they would refer to Gilda. And I just thought her legacy is so unique.
It's unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, and there's 18 Gilda's Clubs throughout the country. Plus, she's on every list of top comedians of all time, top SNL characters. I just thought her legacy was so unique and different.
And it was, that was SNL, those early shows, that was a tough place for a flower to grow. I mean, it was a really rough environment and very masculine in a lot of ways. And the show stayed that way. But it's very interesting as the years have gone on, it's the women that have been shining. And they all love Gilda. All those women.
Well, yeah, I mean, the modern day, I call them the modern day comedians that we interviewed in the film, like Amy Poehler and Melissa McCarthy and Maya Rudolph, and even Bill Hader, who's not, is a guy. They loved Gilda. They just adored her, watching her, was inspired by her. Watching Judy Miller, Gilda's character, where she's a little girl playing in her room. It's like almost every you can really relate to that. But I think there was something about Gilda, male or female performance, people felt connected to her. They felt she was approachable, maybe that's it, or she felt she could be your girlfriend, your friend.
She was vulnerable and powerful at the same time.
Yeah. She was fearless performer.
Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that we normally love in a rock star. You know what I mean? That's something that's so much bigger than what we consider a television performer, and it's something completely unique. By the way, one of my favorite parts of that is you were having those people read parts of the journal, and you can watch them be touched. Hader was another one. He cracked a little bit as he was reading it, and I was up at the American Comedy Museum, and went through that experience of reading some of this stuff by Carlin or Lenny Bruce. And I think it's amazing how powerful somebody just reading their own notes behind us.
Well, Gilda left behind a lot of writing. That is pretty amazing.
Like little pieces of poetry. Her thoughts were like little pieces of poetry.
She was brilliant. And even in her journals where they were very sad, she's talking about her eating disorder or throwing up and all this awful stuff, there's still a sense of comedy in it. Yeah. There's a sense of hope too. I don't think Gilda could ever hit rock bottom because I think she could pick herself up before she got there.
Well, that was one of my favorite parts of the film, which should have been crushing, was to see the way she was standing up to cancer and getting a kick out of finding new ways to do comedy at cancer for cancer patients. And when people always say, oh, there's some things that are untouchable that you can't, unless they're great. You know what I mean? That's what's always amazing to me about, about really unifying comedy is, yes, you can say there's some things that shouldn't be jokes about until there's a joke that's so great that you have to laugh.
I think, Gilda loved making people laugh. And I think she loved making herself laugh too. So I think she found the amusement in all these crazy things that were going on. She talks about stories of things she did in the hospital and her friends that she met there and watching basketball or rooting for sports teams, even though she wasn't a sports fan, just because she knew it would maybe prolong her life in some sense if her team made it to the World Series where she was following.
Do you know, I just had this exact conversation with Jim Brewer, and his wife is going through, and they're doing experimental stuff, and he was just telling me, and he cracked during it, I'm playing it this Friday, of as the Mets went to the World Series, how great it was for their entire family. But it's that connected. You have to be connected to humanity to enjoy life. And I thought that was one of the things about Gilda, and maybe it's more of a feminine energy, but she loved being part of a group and a team. And there wasn't a diva thing about her. And I think the guys get into, what about me? Who's going to stand out in this show? And she wanted to just be part of the show.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. She always just wanted to be a part of people. She loved people. And you can tell it in when you watch her sketches. She just loves being with the other performers, too. Yeah. She's not trying to show off or try to steal as you say, you just look at her. But the joy of just being with other people was so important to her.
And that was something, she was more or less... She wasn't even set out to do a life of this. When it started out, that she just wanted to be this guy's housewife, and that's why she was in Toronto. All that stuff, I hadn't really seen that, but it looks like she would have just been happy enough in that life until she found this other part of her that was a performer.
Well, I think she had the performer in her since she was a kid, and she learned that was a way to make people laugh. And she did do plays in high school and plays in college. And she was in an improv theater in college. So I think she was always torn between her love of performing and her love of men. So the men always was the things that got her away. But then when she saw an opportunity to go back into the theater, that was her other love.
But it was a constant wrestling match with her, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, also, it could be of the generation, too.
Yeah.
You know, Gilda was born in the late 40s. She was really raised to marry a doctor or a lawyer. That was really her family projection for her.
Well, she was really on that early baby boomer list, like as early as you could be in the baby boomers. And they were raised with all those values. And then those values didn't break away until the 60s and the 70s when people kind of were alerted to it. But people weren't thinking at it when they were in high school in the 50s or early 60s,
Yeah.
They were like, oh yeah, this is the track for a successful life. So that was the interesting thing about performers of those ages, is that you could see them change. I mean, even if you look at Jane Fonda, her very early movies were so traditional. And just a couple years later, she was making some really radical stuff,
Like the Beatles, too.
Yeah, like the Beatles and that entire thing. You watch them change in front of you. And I think that was the great thing about the early SNL cast, is that they went from underground to mainstream so quickly. And you see it happen. I think Bill Murray mentions he came back in Love, Gilda, that he came back from summer vacation and found out that he was a star.
Well, also somebody was saying the Nielsen ratings at the time, I'm not sure how they work, but they were thinking there's so many households watching the show, but there were really tons of people in college sitting in their dorm rooms or sitting around having lots of friends around. So when they went to New Orleans, they were just mobbed because it was tons of young people who had been watching them on television.
Yeah, that was such a cluster that I don't know if they've ever re-shown that as a special on TV, because it was, from a television point of view, it was bad TV. You know what I mean? You can't have a mob of people surrounding the acts and make good TV. And again, I don't even think Lauren saw that thing blowing up like that. She really loved Lauren and looked at him as a father figure. But you see how close they were in age. It's so bizarre, right?
I think they were really good friends, too. I maybe because he was the producer of the show, so he had a different role. But she adored him. And, when I interviewed him, you could tell how much he loved her. They were good friends, too. But there was a level of respect that she had for Lauren that I think was so different than she had with like other cast members.
Well, I've talked to so many of the people that were in the Godspell thing with Eugene and Marty and Paul. I don't think any of them have stopped feeling the same exact way as they did in the early 70s about her,
Yeah, I mean, I love the Godspell days. That's my favorite. Like, if I had to go through Gilda's life, that's my favorite. The heyday, the little bit before Godspell, when she was trying, doing children's theater and then going Godspell and doing commercials. But they were all good friends.
Yeah.
And they were nobodies. So it was kind of like the American Idol of the time, from what I heard.
And yet, it was very traditional, right? I mean, they're doing a version of a Broadway play. And after that, she's going to end up doing, Lemons on Broadway, which, even if she would have only done that, I would have thought it would have been genius. And then she was doing the radio show that they had done. And those sketches were just phenomenal. And you could hear Bill Murray doing a voice that's considered racist today, which is also just goes to show how much time. But all that stuff was such like major from a comedy point of view work that by the time you get to the whole country, they had their chops. She was really ready for Saturday Night Live, even though nobody knew what it was going to be. But again, I want to go back and thank you for this. It's really done with a lot of love. And I love hearing from people that were there, but I love hearing from people like the kind of more current cast members that you got, and knowing how much they look up to her and how much they loved her, even though they never had the chance to meet her. So thank you so much. This was really, really fun.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. It's a beautiful piece of work. Chris, tell everybody what they need to know.
Love Gilda opens in theaters across the United States this Friday, September 21st, directed by Lisa D'Appolito. Go to lovegilda.com for all theater information.
We'll see you next time. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you again.
Gilda Radner. The movie is Love Gilda. All right, this is something, Earl, that she told me as she was leaving. She said in her research, she believes that the National Lampoon radio show was done in this building.
You're kidding me. Wow.
She just told me that now. She goes, yes, it's the same address as we came up with. Now, I'm thinking it could be here or across the street, but she said it definitely was a McGraw Hill building, but I'd never heard that from anyone. And those sketches, the National Lampoon Radio Hour, most FM stations were playing them in the same way that they would play songs. And I just remember thinking that they were amazing when I was a kid.
Yeah, they made their rounds on. A lot of the SNL guys hung out at WNEW too. Apparently,
well, I'm sure.
I mean, because I think they were good friends with Michael Kleffner, the late Michael Kleffner, and he was an on-air guy at NEW.
Didn't he end up producing the Blues Brothers, or have something to do with that?
He's in the Blues Brothers. He plays the. He says, he basically he's the guy who tells them how to get out of the building while they're playing. He says, hey, I used to be a bouncer here in the 70s. There's the escape hatch. That's
and he was an on-air personality at.
He was an on-air guy at NEW.
That's fucking crazy. That's bizarre. So hopefully you can get to see this. Alan Zweibel, as always, gives, and Robin Zweibel, they end up, his wife, they end up as executive producers on this project. And Bunny Bunny maybe is something that Zweibel wrote about Gilda. It's about him and Gilda because they had this non-sexual love affair that went on for years. And it just ate him up because she was dating everybody but him. And she was like, if I date you, it'll end up ruining it. That's what I do with guys. But did Lisa look scared when I started to go after Gene Wilder? Because I remember I was going to get him on. He was going to do an Unmasked, very early days of it. And that fucking book came out. And I was like so pissed about the way that he wrote about Gilda. And she hadn't, I don't know what that shit was all about.
Yeah, maybe it was just, I don't know if it was just the tone was taken out of context.
No.
But it's just, I don't know.
He said some things that I'm like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. But like I said, I'd pick her over anybody.
Yeah, wasn't she the first one picked for the cast?
She might have been. Earl, that's a very good one. I think Aykroyd was very early on, and I think Gilda was very early on. None of these things work. This one, that one, all these fucking computer screens that you set up for me, Chris.
Yeah.
If I was running a NASA thing out of here, there would be fucking satellites and spaceships just falling out of the sky. But it seems like a reboot thing like this could take place when we weren't on the air. You know what I mean?
I know.
Thank you, Hickman Bell. I agree with you. And I'm getting agreement that Earl was right again about Gilda being the first person picked for SNL.
Says everything about how talented she was.
No. Says a lot about how talented you are too, Earl. No one brings that up. No one ever fucking says that. But you were the first person booked for In Living Color. And wasn't that the name of the show?
Yeah.
Or was that the band?
Living Color is the band, and Living Color is the TV show.
Yeah, so I said it correctly, right? You could have been in the band too.
Wish I was in the band. Great guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh. I'm just singing that fucking song now all day. God damn you, Chris. God damn you.
I didn't mean to put that in your head.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Brewer is this Friday, the Brewer Unmasked.
It's 4 p.m. on Mass with Jim Brewer this Friday.
You got to be more specific to me all the time. Do you ever notice that? You just got to one-up me with everything that I say.
4 p.m. in the East. Be specific.
All right, let's just say this, Chris. You're the man, okay? You're the man. Oh, guess what? I found out that I can get, well, I shouldn't even say this on the air because I might, but I'm able to get the football games, the fucking football package, since I went to Fire Stick. Fire Stick is the love of my life right now.
Told you you'd like it.
No, you didn't. But I like it for a reason you don't even know.
What's the reason?
The Filmstruck channel that gives me all the criterion. You watch that, Earl?
Yeah. Oh, God, is it amazing?
You and I should have conversations, and we'll pick out a film and we'll watch it. It could be with Nell and I, and then we'll go downstairs and make the best cappuccino with little fucking pastries downstairs, and that'll be our little
and stuff. And it's like, it's film.
I don't even know what Canopy is.
It's an app that you get through the library, and it gives you all the Criterion films. And
What do you mean, an app you get through the library? Why didn't you tell me to get that instead of Filmstruck?
Well, you have to get a library card. You have to go to the New York Public Library.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get a library card because I don't want anybody to think that I'm a sissy or some kind of an egghead weirdo. You know what I mean? I'm going to smoke and hang out with the cool kids. You, on the other hand, Earl, you run around with the art nerds with your library cards. I read a book, I ain't returning it. When I read a book, when I'm done a page, I tear it out.
Really?
Yes, really. That's why I said it, Chris.
I didn't know you did that.
That's why I told it.
You know what I found out this weekend? I was watching Rushmore, and there's a weird cameo in Rushmore in the library. The librarian is the dude from Kimmy Schmidt, the black guy, Titus.
It's not a cameo. He was just basically an extra then. A cameo is if you would have said it was Jack Nicholson. It's not a guy who was lucky enough to be there. Can you see? I don't even watch that fucking Kimmy Schmidt thing.
I've only seen a couple episodes. Never stuck
enough that you turn around and pick out the guy as an extra in something. That's good for you.
I was like, who is that? Oh, I'm going to rewind this.
Were you watching it with your girlfriend?
I was watching it by myself on my phone.
You just sit and watch a fucking movie. I just got a picture of the baby passed out inside of her mom's shirt. I love when she puts her in that thing like that. There's tight swelling in the shirt because it reminds me when Gail was pregnant in here. I'm like, oh, that was probably the way the baby was standing at the time. Juliet's little arms and legs never stopped going. And if you remember, Chris, Gail was always holding her stomach during the show, and she thought the baby was just bouncing in all directions, but it's because her little arms and legs never stop. But she got some spider legs and spider arms too. She's gonna be a little volleyball player. Ooh, oh man, Miss Kavanaugh, you think he'll get in?
No, I think there's no chance. The accuser is going to screw him over.
I don't know.
There was also the stuff about him going heavily, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for Nationals tickets, which I thought was weird.
Well, a lot of people like baseball and they want really good fucking seats.
I guess, but like he's a judge trying to I'm sure it was in his head to be a Supreme Court judge.
How did he pay his way out of it?
I don't know. I didn't see how he paid it out.
Did you realize that the games are on TV and the radio?
I think
and it's the Nationals. I don't even know how far they've ever made it in the playoffs.
Never won I think they never got out the first round.
And the thing is, there was a lot of talent on that fucking team.
Tons of it. Scherzer, Strasburg, a bunch of guys, Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper is like one of the top 2 guys of his entire generation. You'll never fucking know that as history goes by. Because he'll be sitting around with as many goddamn rings as Chris Stanley. Donut.
He's a free agent this year, so he might. He was going to
come to the Yankees. I know.
we need
come to the Yankees. They're giving him $8 billion. You guys should be fucking ashamed of yourself. The way you buy players and still can't turn it into a winning team. Red Sox are just fucking pegging you this year. Actually, I know I said Red Sox. I get it. I make mistakes. Red Sox.
They're actually under the payroll tax for the first time since they've put in the payroll tax.
You're just starting to sound like a goddamn sports nerd. You know the fucking figures to everything. You guys and your fucking, what do they call that kind of,
it's
sabermetrics.
All right, your sabermetrics are destroying the game, Earl.
Actually, don't like sabermetrics. I like.
You're a fucking saber-toothed tiger. That's what I call you.
He likes Moneyball.
I hate Moneyball.
Moneyball is such a disgusting movie because you're supposed to hate the players and love the front office. And people love that fucking movie. And they'll say, you know what my favorite baseball movie is? Moneyball. And I'm like, he hates the coach and he hates the players.
It's like chess pieces. They might as well be chess pieces.
Let's meet the new interns, Earl. Send them in. Could it be? Would you say we did one of the best unmasked yesterday with Brewer?
Oh, without a doubt, yes. It was fantastic.
Well. Look at these 2 young studs trying to go out and chase their dreams in New York City.
That's right.
You remember, Chris?
I remember
when you were still young enough to have dreams. Vito, you consider this your class, or is it Earl in charge of the class, or is it Chris?
It's me. I'm the intern guy.
Okay, you're the intern guy. That's your. Well, introduce us to them, and we'll see whether or not they get nicknames or keep their first names.
This is Vinay.
Vinay, first of all, that's a very fucking cool name.
Isn't that?
Where are you from, Vinay?
From Pittsburgh.
From Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Are you a Steelers fan?
I don't really follow sports.
You
like
don't
that.
follow sports at all?
No.
Okay.
I'm sad. I got bullied.
Somebody bullied you?
Yeah, I never played sports when I was growing up.
All right, look, I'm going to take you back to Pittsburgh. I want you to take Chris and Vito with you, and I want you to jump some of those bullies. These guys will hold them down, and you kick them in their face.
Bet, I'll do that.
Now, you're the one, you do stand-up?
Yeah, I do stand-up.
Where at? In the city?
I've been doing it at West Side, Broadway, and I host a show at Vaughn Bar.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And you didn't come down yesterday when I did Brewer? You didn't do that on
No,
Mass?
I should have.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. All right,
should've.
next week is Ricky Gervais. Gervais just retweeted. So your chances of getting tickets, ladies and gentlemen, are running out fast.
That's happening next Wednesday,
definitely
September
be there.
26th, 5 p.m. at the Village Underground in New York City. Go to theinterrobang.com for a chance at free tickets.
And it's his first time at the Cellar, which is going to be pretty cool. All right, when are you doing West Side next?
West Side, I don't know next because the guy who books it
is an asshole. Complete asshole.
No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Yeah. No. October 10th at my show at Vaughn Bar.
Yeah. All right. Good. I'm going to try to make it there. Vito, you in?
Yeah, I'm in.
Chris, see if your girlfriend lets you go out.
I go out whenever I want.
All right. And keep going.
This is Chris.
And I met Chris yesterday. Chris, you're from Australia?
Sure am, yeah.
Australia and Pittsburgh, 2 far off lands. What brings you from Australia to New York City?
Pretty much to work in the industry over here. So I had a job in radio back at home. I worked in sports media, radio station back at home. It was okay, but it kind of wasn't what I was after. There's only really one sport back at home. It's Australian rules football. That's all really anyone in Melbourne cares about. That's where I'm from. I'm from Melbourne. That's all anyone cares about. And for me, I love football. I'm a big Carlton fan. If anyone knows Australian rules football, they're not going so well at the moment, but historically they're a good club.
So tell us the rules that'll surprise us about Australian rules football.
The biggest thing that most people, I think, are most surprised by is the fact that they don't wear pads.
Right.
So it's a hard-hitting game. It's a 360-degree game. So a lot of people think it's similar to rugby, but if you're...
people always say that to me.
Exactly. They say, is football rugby? I say, no, rugby, you're pretty much, you know where the contact's going to come from. You're looking at the opponent and you're running straight into them. You're only going to get hit from one way, and that's right in front of you. In Australian rules football, it's a 360-degree game. So you could get hit from behind, hit from the side. If you're going up for a ball, if you're going up for a mark, which is what we call a catch, you could get hit from any angle and you don't know what's going to happen. So you always have to be ready for the contact, and it's a brutal game.
And how do you score in this game?
You have to kick the ball in between. So you got 4 posts on either side of the oval. We call it an oval. And if you kick it in between the 2 big sticks in the middle, it's worth 6 points. If you kick it in between either side of those 2 big sticks, it's worth 1 point. So you have to kick it through. You can't throw it through. You can't do anything. You have to kick it through.
Put it up here too, Chris. And we're going to watch a little bit of this because I've seen...
I get very excited when I'm showing people Australian rules football.
I've seen the game, but I've never understood it.
It's on FS1. Usually every week, FS1 on a Friday night.
From what I understand, that no one in the stands understands what is happening or how the game is played. Why is it so difficult for you to find?
It's coming up.
Yeah, get some big hits here. The grand final is on in a couple of weeks as well. So we get down to the preliminary final at the moment. We've got 4 teams left.
All right,
got a big game this weekend. So here you go. They go up for the mark, and they can just get hit from left, right, and center. You see how they don't know where the contact's coming from?
No.
Going back with the flight, gets absolutely hammered there.
Now, the game stops at this point that they're...
Yeah,
You're just going for big hits. What I want to see is an actual game, Chris.
You can get full games as well. You can get full games.
I want to see so we know, so we could have the action explained to us.
All right, here we go. So this is the grand final from a couple of years back. This was Western Bulldogs are a team that hadn't made the grand final since the 50s, and they ended up winning the grand final a couple of years ago, and it was one of the most emotional moments that you would see. They don't have many supporters. They're not a big club.
Yeah.
But the fact that they haven't won since the 50s was a massive moment for Australian football. So there you see the 4 sticks, and he's kicked it in between the 2 big ones in the centre there. So that's 6 points for him. If he kicked it either side, it would have been worth 1 point.
But there's no kind of goal. It doesn't matter how high.
Doesn't matter how high. You could kick it as high as the roof.
Yeah.
Or you can dribble it along the ground as well, as long as no one touches it. That's why not a lot of people dribble along the ground, because you want to be able to get over everyone's hands.
It's also shaped in a weird way so it doesn't dribble easily, right?
Exactly. It's similar to an American football. It's just a little bit more round than an American football. But the skills of these guys, they can figure out how to dribble it along the ground. If there's no one between them and the goals, they will kind of do some tricky stuff with it.
Now, how are you doing with head injuries there because they're not wearing helmets?
But this is the biggest thing, right? So in American football, because they're wearing helmets, they lead with their head a lot, and they think that they're protected, whereas the skull's protected, but their brain isn't. When you haven't got a helmet on, you're not going to lead with your head. Now, we do have some concussion issues every now and then, but that's more of accidental hitting up rather than everything else. But the rules kind of state that you're not allowed to hit high. They've gone very, very tough on that in the last couple of years. The head is sacrosanct is what the AFL has said. And so you don't really get too many head clashes because people are very wary of actually doing that, because they know if they make head-high contact, they're going to get suspended for probably 3 to 4 games, if not more, depending on how hard the contact actually is.
And you also don't sell automatic weapons.
Definitely
There's no
not.
automatic weapons and no helmets.
Zero. We had a
boring.
Yeah.
We had a massacre pretty much in the 90s, and from then all weapons, all guns have pretty much been wiped out, and nothing's been happening since.
Well,
one
we have
incident.
A massacre every week or two.
Oh, yeah.
So you're gonna
I've noticed.
Yeah, you'll get used to that.
I've noticed.
As we go along. All right. Looks like a great class, Vito. Who do you think, which one of these guys is leading so far?
Well, Vinay's got a comedy background.
I came last night.
That's right.
You know what? It's Chris, because he's put in more work so far.
Yeah.
You know what I like too? You came in and chopped out, like you saw was going to Vinay. You came in, you got in front of him, kind of Australian.
You got the sports
football.
on me and the immigrant shit
See,
factor. It
You got to get into sports, man. Got to do it.
I hate not being the minority.
Well, to us, you really are, though, so that's very helpful for you. You know what I mean? It's very helpful. All right. These guys sound fantastic. Joe List is coming up a little bit. Have you ever worked with Joe?
Nah.
A fabulous comedian. You've never heard of him?
No, I know who he is. I've never worked with him.
See, that's who you're going to meet all the hot New York comics here as well, too. All right, so we're going to take a break. But it looks like we got two good interns, right?
This is a solid class.
Once we got Chris off the interns, it seems like we've been very strong with it, right?
Once I became intern leader, intern supervisor, intern guys, I like to call it, things have changed.
We'll be right back, Bennington.
Welcome back to Bennington. Joe List is in studio. Joe's performing this weekend, September 20th through the 22nd at Hilarities in Cleveland. And he'll be at the DC Draft House October 19th and the 20th. Go to comedianjoelist.com for tickets and all of Joe's dates. And the stand-ups is available now on Netflix.
The very, very funny Joe List. We haven't seen you in a while. You've been on the road.
It's been a long time. I've been on the road too much. I hate it. I actually don't hate it. I like it.
But
it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a lot. And here's what I'm finding out. It is very difficult to get people to buy tickets and come to the show. Very difficult.
I'm going to tell you this. Jim Brewer is going to be on Unmasked on Friday. Jim Brewer started at my club in Florida when I had it. The entire time I had that club, it must have been 9 years or something. Never once did we expect the act to be the draw.
Yes.
The club was the draw. And when it was an off night, I would say to the comedians, I'm so sorry. I don't know what we've done wrong. I promise you the next time you're here, you'll have a bigger crowd.
Right. Yes, it's frustrating. Now all of comedy is like a bringer show, and I'm paying for Facebook ads. I'm like, let me put some money into the Facebook ads. And it used to be, you would promote the club. Like you said, you'd go, look at, here's Joe List on The Tonight Show.
Right.
Doing well. Now I got to do that.
I would be like, you trust this club. Trust the people that we're bringing in. The club had the reputation.
Right.
And then you would come there and you go, oh my God, they came through again. These are good comedians. And when somebody came in, if the club didn't draw, I would apologize to the comedian. If the comedian didn't take it up, I would apologize to the audience. I'm like, okay, we're going to do better. We had a rough show.
Right. Now that one problem with that, one issue with that is that I deal with, and I've talked about this, when you crush at these clubs, because you think you're like, I'll just be like Brian Regan. I'll kill so hard for so long that people will keep coming back. But sometimes the audience credits the club. They go and watch you and they go, that was great. We're going to come back to this club.
Right.
They don't go, that was great. We're going to go and see this guy again.
See, that's the next thing. It's a very difficult thing to get a following. Like, think of how long it took Bill Burr to get his following.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was a great comedian, and people in the comedy business knew that was funny. But it's only been, last 5-6 years that the audience said, oh, I remember that guy.
Right.
Good.
Right. It takes time. We'll get there.
I don't know.
I was just in Buffalo, and it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. And I was there with Elton John was at the arena next door. Last time I was there, Springsteen was there. And I know it seems like, boy, you're not losing fans to Elton John fans or whatever, but the parking lot is shared. So nobody's going to go when Elton John is there.
And also, these are, most towns are like, what is happening this weekend?
Right.
Where should I be this weekend? Chris, you never go out for a live event no matter what it is.
Yeah, it's very rare.
What would it take to get you to leave this nest of yours where you have your drugs and your prostitutes and go out and spend a night?
Come to Cleveland.
Should
Buy
I come
a
to Cleveland?
ticket. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm there Friday.
You're there at Hilarities?
Yeah, I'm at Hilarities. Get a ticket.
Okay.
Fly private. Sirius pays well.
I'm going to go to comedianjoelist.com. Get all your dates.
Please do. Come to all my dates.
I'm going to follow you around.
If we'll fly out to one of your dates and just come in and surprise you.
Please do. That would be great. Speaking of being surprised, can I tell you a tale?
Mm-hmm.
I come equipped with a story. I feel like a back first floor rear, 1R. And so I open the door this is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to the gym. I open the door and there's a pair of human beings Can you still say fucking?
Yes.
Pair of human beings fucking doggy style in my foyer.
Doggy style?
Yes. The woman was up against the door, the glass door, and the guy was really giving her the business from behind in my home where my wife sleeps and my kids play with their toys. And at first I didn't know what it was because it was shadowy figures, because they're backlit and I'm down a hallway, so I thought there was like a package coming. I thought they needed help, so I started to.
No, there's a package coming. All right.
Fortunately, it wasn't coming because I wouldn't be able to open my mail. But I just saw the guy all of a sudden doing like a jump pants pull up, and I could see his penis, well-sized penis,
Good
flapping.
for him.
And then I looked at the woman. We made eye contact, and then naturally I panned down and saw her pink vagina.
Okay.
I've never seen live sex before. I've seen pornography a few times, and I've caught myself in a mirror, but I've never seen human beings having sex live.
You've never been part of a three-way or a train, as people would say in the pre-Me Too era.
You know what? I'm realizing I have, actually.
Okay.
I guess other people. I felt like I was sort of involved in the situation. Strangers.
You've never
in
seen
my
strangers
foyer.
have sex. Yeah.
In front of my mail. And they were smoking a joint also because it was cloudy in there. And then they left because they saw me coming, and I
You
saw
were
them
coming?
and then I walked out, and like they had taken a right out the door, and I took a left, and like there was a young couple. I mean, they were probably late teens, I would say. And then they kind of looked to see if I was gonna be like, get out of here or whatever.
Yes.
But I didn't know what to do. Because I don't want to call the cop. They were young. They were African American. For full disclosure, I don't want to call the police on these people.
Earl, you're not even shocked with this, are you?
Not at all.
Okay.
Well, I live a few blocks away, and I don't want to be judgmental.
Yeah.
I live a few blocks away from the project, so I thought maybe they live in the projects. They have multiple siblings or their parents. They need a place to fuck. And so that's the other detail. Our front door doesn't close all the way. It kind of. So they said, "Hey, this is open. Let's smoke our joint and have sex right here."
When I was a youngster, my girlfriend and I, and not old enough to drive or anything, but we would go have sex in an unlocked car that we knew, the same unlocked car. And now when I look back on it, I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with you, dude? You went into a guy's car, that family, but they always kept their car unlocked in front of their house, and we would have sex there.
Well, I think it's nice. I thought about calling them as I walked away. I thought about saying, "Hey, do you want to just borrow my bedroom? I'll put down a sheet we don't."
That would have been
usually
nice.
use." Yeah, something, and say, "Have at it," because I know what it's like to be young and in love and have no place to fuck.
It's
I had
very
no
difficult
one to fuck, also, but the place you got to find a place.
Chris, what did you do for a place? So you lived in Queens. What did you do for a place to bang before you had your own automobile?
There was one cool person, like one kid had like cool parents or whatever, or like parents that weren't there a lot. So we would like
But you never fucked in the bushes, in the woods, any of that kind of...
in college I did. I fucked in the.
But you had your own dorm then.
I had 7 roommates in college. Like in the.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
7.
Wait, with the elves? Who were you banging, Snow White?
And one time I had to go up to Albany for a court hearing or a court case or whatever.
When you banged in the court.
No, my girlfriend lived in Albany at the time, and she picked me up to drive me to the court from the bus station, and like, hey, we should have sex. And then so we just like we had to drive around trying to find a place to have sex. So then we parked in front of a school and then had sex. And then when I went to my court to see the judge, I didn't realize this, but I had dried cum on my shirt.
Oh, that's the worst kind of cum.
Yes, out of all of them.
Load on me.
Yeah, those little fucking potato flakes that you have spilling down in chip form.
Yeah. It was. I didn't realize till afterwards.
Here, give me this bag. You know how bad the rain was today.
I'm still wet currently.
How are your socks?
They're a little moist, to be
mine were soaked. So Chris sent out for socks for me, which is very nice.
Oh, wow.
But look at the size of these socks. He gets these little girl gymnast footy socks, which remind Chris can't do anything right. But if you like a little pair of footy socks for yourself,
Take a pair.
I'll take a pair. Is the studio on fire? What's happening over there?
He's vaping over there.
Okay, that's what my foyer looked like.
Who did you send out to get the socks, Chris or Vinay?
I sent Vinay.
Interesting.
Vinay Ramsey?
Well, he is a young comedian from Pittsburgh. Maybe you want to take him on the road as your opening act.
No, that's okay.
He seems like he's the next big thing.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I just went by him, and he has a tattoo of a cartoon doing stand-up in his arm. That's how committed he is.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of people that have stand-up comedy tattoos.
Yeah.
I don't actually know any that are successful.
Seinfeld has just a great big tattoo on his chest, runs all the way down to his balls.
His pubes are the base of the mic stand.
Now, I didn't know this. So we have Chris and
Chris
Vinay.
and Vinay.
The ladies in the audience are already interested in one of them and want to see a picture.
Really?
Guess who?
I'm going to guess Vinay.
Chris, because he has an Aussie accent, and the ladies love an Irish accent and they love an Aussie accent.
And vice versa, I feel like I have, I don't want to get too sexual here, but I've had sex with 2 Australian ladies in my life.
Same time?
No, separate times, but both, and luckily they're anonymous here. There's many Australian women. They both requested that I ejaculate inside of their face. Or on top of their face.
Sure.
Not inside of their face.
Isn't that where all the ladies like it?
That's more standard inside the face. This was on top of the face.
Yeah.
Both separate women
Yes.
were like, come on my face.
Come on my face, mate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like that.
Very sexy.
Yeah. And I mean, I obliged, of course.
You know, the other day I was at the cellar and Gad was there, and I ended up talking to 3 French women who came to see him. And I thought to myself, this might be my favorite for female accents. The French female accent is unbelievable.
Very nice. Yeah, I always loved Julie Depley or Deppy.
Yes, from before midnight,
Yeah,
after
yes.
midnight,
Yeah.
a little bit afternoon. She's done all those films.
Quarter to 3.
She was in, by the way, and the director and the 2 stars came in the last time, and she was a little pissed at them, and she was giving them the business a little bit, like you're the one who talked all through. But it was very sexy to me. It was very exciting to just get a face job from.
That is hot. Ethan Hawke and Richard Linklater, the other 2 folks involved.
Yeah. By the way, Ethan Hawke has become one of my favorite actors of all time now. He's really
I feel the same
phenomenal.
way. Tremendous. Have you seen the Paul Schrader?
I have, and I was alarmed by it. It was that shocking in today's world to see something like that. You know, went to some dark places.
It was very dark. I saw it in Dublin at the Irish Film Institute, which is a lovely place to take in a picture, and it was really something. I like to talk like this after talking about coming in people's face.
Yes. Were there any Irish girls that you came on their faces?
No, I did not have. I mean, I'm a married man now, of course. I want to make it clear these Australian women whose faces I came into was in single life.
That's something you will not do. You will not bend the vowels.
No.
Even
no,
even if your wife said, "Hey, if you're on the road, you know, if you're in another continent, I can understand. How am I going to find out about it?"
I think I would be turned off. I'd be off put by that if my wife said that. I'd
really?
We kind of are married, and I'd appreciate.
Yeah.
I would like my wife to be upset if I came in a woman's face.
All right.
Or did anything sexual with a woman.
What you are is a conservative, my friend.
Yeah,
You're very, very conservative.
I'm a right-wing guy.
Yeah. You're like Earl is the only black conservative in America. He's MAGA. That's his thing.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Somebody had a good tweet the other day, and I forget who it was, so I feel bad that I'm not naming them. But they said, "Make America Great Again" actually would be a pretty good slogan for whoever runs in 2020. That was
that was mine.
I think that was
I'm very proud of that tweet.
I think it was a funny tweet.
Is Vito back there?
No, he's at the other computer over here.
Why?
Outside. I'm not sure.
Could you ask him to get pictures of the 2 interns to put up? The young lady. I don't want Vinay to feel bad that it's all about Australian Chris.
No, I'm on it.
You're on it? That's how that simple of a thing? And you're saying to me I'm on it as if you were a first responder? I don't think you should be overly impressed with passing along a message. What is it, Chris?
I just want to let everyone know Joe List is performing
You
this.
see him hovering?
Joe List is performing this weekend, September 20th through the 22nd at Hilarities in Cleveland. It'll be at the DC Draft House October 19th and 20th. You go to comedianjoelist.com for tickets and all of Joe's dates.
Joe List just crushing it, road dogging, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's exciting. It's a lot of it's a lot of traveling around. It's fun. It's
Travel
nice.
is hard, though. No matter what kind of travel it is, it's hard.
The travel and filling the time. I know there's people that don't want to hear it because they work and they do manual labor, and my family's all in crawl spaces doing air conditioning, and they're firemen. But it is hard to fill the time in the day. Like I sometimes I'll get after it. I'll go for a run, and then I'll meditate, and then I'll write, and I'll listen to a set, and then I'll see some sights, and then it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I got 4.5 hours till the show, and I'm trying not to be so on the phone. You know, everyone's on the phone, and it's destroying us all in our society. But it's very difficult to not do that.
Particularly if the weather's bad. You know, you're looking out, and there's some kind of gray day. You're like, what have I done?
Yes, that's what I start doing. This is what I'm working on in therapy. I start judging everything that I've done. I'm like, why I should be doing something of more value, and I don't value myself unless I'm doing things that I see as valuable, like push-ups and meditation. Mm-hmm. And then I'll watch a movie, but it's got to be like a film.
Right.
Speaking of films, I was watching The Terminator on IFC before I came here.
Yeah.
It does not look good. I don't know when the last time you
I haven't seen it in a long time.
It looks ridiculous. Like it's like blue fake lightning that looks like it looks wildly bad.
Yeah, that's what happens in life. And then also acting changes. So like you'll look back at certain things and you're like, man, are they doing a comical, they're getting shot and it almost looks like they've comically got shot. But at the time, everyone in the 50s was like, yes, this is how you act when you get shot.
Right.
You stand up and then you slowly fall. But, time, it crushes everything.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, stand-up comedy, time does the most damage to. Like you watch a Hitchcock movie, you're like, oh, that line is silly and that looks weird, but this movie's great. But like if you watch like most stand-up from the 50s or 60s or 80s or 90s, you're like, what? This is a big pile of stink.
Right.
It looks real cheesy. But I think I went to the story before. I went and saw Rear Window in Hollywood, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I went and saw the movie, and everyone was watching. There's all these young people. I mean, I sound like I'm 105. I'm 22 years old. But we were watching the movie, and then the climax comes. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it by now, I mean. But, Jimmy Stewart, I almost said Patrick Stewart. Jimmy Stewart falls out of the window, and it's a literal green screen situation, and the audience burst into laughter. And it really bummed me out. It took me out of it, because it was like, this is the climax. You just fucking understand that they didn't have the technology.
And it's Hitchcock. So at the time, he's considered a real master.
Of course.
And still is considered a master. But that will happen. Like, a lot of times you watch a Hitchcock now and you're like, and there'll be like there's a driving scene in one of the films. I'm like, is this happening in real time? We're watching a 12-minute. Oh, it's Psycho.
Yeah.
And it's just like she leaves with the money before she gets, and it's just driving forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can cut to when she gets there, Al.
That movie also, one of the best movies ever. And then the last scene, which Roger Ebert wrote eloquently about this. The last scene in the movie is one of the worst scenes in the history of American cinema. The detective
summation?
comes in. Yeah, he explains all the things that happen in the movie to the point where, like, you have to stop watching the movie.
Right.
Or else you're like, oh, this sucks. It would be like if at the end of, Goodfellas, they were like, okay, so Henry wanted to be a gangster. Then he became one, but, like, he wasn't Italian, so he had to...
Now, do you think it's because he had zero respect for that hayseed audience?
I do think that.
In the middle of like, you don't want them to leave going, what happened? So you bring an adult out and explain to the children what went down all that time.
And the whole audience is going, okay. Yeah, got it. It's a real bad scene.
Is there, Earl, do you have a movie that at one time you loved and now you're almost embarrassed about? Is there one in your life the way Joe List just looked at Terminator? Is it Cotton Comes to Harlem? What is it for you, Earl? What drives you crazy these days?
No, like the one movie I look at now and I'm like, I loved and Superfly. It's horrible. It's unwatchable.
I want to go back and watch it because I love the song so much.
The songs are great, but it's basically...
I mean, for me, American Beauty seemed ridiculous only a few years, and that was the Academy Award winner.
Yeah.
And it was, and I know I enjoyed it when I went to it, but I have no idea why now.
It felt a little overrated.
Yeah.
I loved it in high school, then rewatched it. I was like, oh boy, this is a shitty movie.
It's almost a Lifetime movie. I mean, they make they make anything about being gay just so ridiculous. Like the father who's a closet gay. And I actually like, is this almost homophobic? Is this almost like watch out for gays? They're among us hiding.
And they'll go crazy.
Yeah.
A Requiem for a Dream, I really liked.
Didn't even like it when it came out.
I loved it when it came out. Then
And
I
I'll tell you why. It's because I was a man who enjoyed drugs and went through the addiction, and it was nothing like that.
It's insane. It's not. Yeah, no.
I thought the movie Cocktail was one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, I was
Yeah.
very young.
Yeah.
And looking back, it's real ridiculous. I mean, it is a ridiculous.
Really bad poems that for some reason people in New York would think it was cool that the bartender was yelling out these poems.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing, like, oh, he's spinning bottles. But when he just starts making up poems about drinking.
Yeah, and at the time he's reading the poems, no one is being served.
Right.
There's 300 people in the bar
Yeah.
on a Saturday night, and like
Yeah.
not one, the bartender's up there being like, the Singapore sling, the ding-a-ling. And then,
like, yay!
I can't remember if I brought this up on this show before, and I don't know if no one's ever had an answer for me. The most mind-blowing, nonsensical scene in the history of American cinema is in that film, and no one can explain it to me. You got to get like the writer or director in here.
Okay.
There's a scene, the opening scene, he leaves the army and he's taking a bus into New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Cruise, and during the credits, is holding a baby in his hand. And there's a lady next to him, and he goes, you see that? They're in like Jersey, and he looks at the skyline, he's holding a baby, and he says, you see that city, Mikey? Someday we're going to run that city. And the baby and the woman never appear again. You got to go rewatch it. It's crazy.
No, you don't think it was just a baby and a lady he met on the bus and he made friends with them and then they each went their own way?
But why does he include it? Like, who's Mikey? Like, you think, like, okay, there's a baby. He's got a baby here.
Yeah.
And why is he telling the baby they're going to be partners at some point?
Yeah.
It's very nonsensical. There's very few movies where a baby is introduced and it doesn't play a part later.
I'm going to give you a scene that always makes me fucking crazy. And it's the Kevin Costner is the left-handed hitting catcher in that Bull Durham. And at the end of the movie, he's with the hot girl and they're dancing, right?
Yes.
Now remember, they're in the Carolina League. They're listening to R&B, and this is shag country, particularly back in those days, everybody would know how to shag. And it is the worst dancing you've ever seen in your life. It's fucking horrible, and it makes you think, I bet those two can't even fuck because they don't have any dance chemistry between them.
You do see her nipple for a very brief moment.
I never even noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed it because I love nipples and baseball. Those are my two things.
Well, I love everything about, like, okay, Nuke gets on my nerves a little bit, you know what I mean? I mean, they're just not people that stupid. But I've always been a fan of that movie. And then when it gets to the dance scene, I'm embarrassed for both of them because this should be an incredibly sexy, charismatic dance number. And it looks like they didn't work on it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And for sober people to dance like that is even worse.
Another thing is people don't typically make it to the big leagues after being that bad earlier in the season.
Right.
In minor league baseball.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. I guess it's there.
And by the way, I think if you're a left-handed fucking catcher that could hit home runs, you're going to spend a little time. You're going to spend a little time in the big leagues.
Well, he spent a few weeks there, and he's the all-time home run leader of the minor leagues.
Of the minor leagues.
Yeah. And by the way, I believe he's a switch hitter. I think he hits from both sides of the plate in that movie. And then he made.
I never noticed. Did you, Earl?
No,
I only saw him hitting left-handed.
I think he was always hitting left.
But he throws right-handed,
Throws
correct?
right-handed, yeah.
And then in the, I believe in the batting cage scene, he's hitting right-handed.
I need to go back and watch it. I mean, obviously, if you're a right-handed fucking thrower and you can hit left-handed, you could also hit right-handed. That's obvious.
Yeah, and if you're a switch-hitting catcher with power, you're going
somewhere.
Yeah.
And devastatingly good looks also.
Oh, he was quite a handsome man.
Yeah.
And a very wooden actor. Very wooden actor.
He's got some great performances, though.
Give me one.
JFK.
I'll say that's also a film that I liked it when it came out and felt more and more embarrassed as the years went by.
Oh, I love it.
I'm going to
so
watch it again.
I love it so much. And then people always go, yeah, but it's bullshit. I'm like, yes, it's a movie. It's not a real.
Anything that's based on a true story is a lie.
It's definitely a movie.
They should just say, this story has the names of actual people in it. But if you know them, you're going to go, this doesn't even remind me of anybody from this. This is a movie for strangers to say, what is it, Chris?
I just want to let everyone know Joe List, he's performing this weekend, September 20th through the 22nd at Hilarities in Cleveland. Go to comedianjoelist.com for tickets, and he'll be at the DC Draft House October 19th and 20th. And the stand-ups is available now on Netflix.
I just saw White Boy Rick, which is based on a true story.
Vito was mad because Earl ruined that movie for him by saying he went to jail or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the youngest informant, and he was also one of the youngest guys to get a life sentence, apparently.
I believe the end part is he's the longest tenured, or however they word it, non-violent criminal in the history of the American justice.
Wow. They're fucking cruel to White Boy Rick, huh?
Yeah, well, white people have a bad rap when it comes to prison. I mean, it's mostly a white problem, I feel.
Yeah.
That was weird because that was trying to be egregiously funny, and then you looked away, so it felt weird.
Yes.
Now I have to make it clear that I was being facetious.
He knows from his own family.
Great.
He knows.
But no, the movie stinks.
Ask Vito if you saw White Boy Rick.
He
No, I haven't seen it yet because Earl ruined it for me.
Well, you should have even heard everything that Joe said. I mean,
well, the
we
director
got all
ruined it for me.
Yeah.
It stinks.
Yeah, the Drudge Report put up the who's the guy that you were saying?
Rex Reed.
Yeah, Rex Reed is basically saying it was the worst film he's ever seen, which he does every other film. He claims that
it's really bad. It's not good.
Didn't like it at all. What's the film this year that you've seen that you love?
I can't even think of what. Yeah, well, now as we talked about, I feel like we've talked about this before on the show. There's only 12 good movies a year, and they release them all on December 23rd or whatever.
Most of the time, I would even say it's less than 12, maybe 5. I think that they even struggled to come up with 5 to nominate every year.
Yeah, I don't even remember what movie I've seen this year.
Chris, see if you could put up a thing that says the best movies so far this year. There's always a list halfway through the year.
Yeah.
And if they write Black Panther on it, just say, I know you're making that up.
Hereditary. Oh, Won't You Be My Neighbor? I enjoyed very much.
All right, so these are the 15 best movies of 2018 so far.
Oh, I don't like any of these movies. Well, Early Man I did not see. Oh, Tully I saw.
I despised it. I despised it.
I didn't get real into that one, and then I didn't even realize the plot twist thing.
And somebody told me that it's going to get nominations for, and when I did Doug Loves Movies, I called it Fight Club for Girls, and then I gave away the plot twist, and they booed me. And I said it's already on demand. I mean, if you haven't seen by now, you obviously didn't care enough about it.
Yeah, I thought her performance was good. It was sweet. Quiet Place, I really enjoyed the first time I saw it, and I just watched it a second time, and a lot of people have pointed out a lot of holes in it, and it's not as great as...
They're going to re-release it dubbed into English, so you'll be able to... I mean, that whole thing about noise doesn't even make sense, but...
A lot of it did not make sense at all, and they're living in a creaky house... And how are they printing newspapers is a good question. Like, they're still printing newspapers. It's very noisy to print and deliver newspapers. So I'm not sure how that's going on.
And that's something that's needed today. You know what I mean? It's very hard to distribute.
Also, like, how did you let your 4-year-old kid be the last one out of the store? That seems weird and irresponsible. There's monsters that murder you if you make a sound. You're like, well, let him bring up the rear.
Yes.
That felt weird.
The child will know.
And Krasinski stinks. Black Panther I didn't see because I'm not into comic book or action films.
Today was the release of the trailer for Captain Marvel, and some people are mad because Captain Marvel is a woman, which I never knew.
I didn't know that either.
Anything about Captain Marvel?
Yeah, I was busy having sex with Australians, so I didn't follow
Where were you
comic
coming?
books.
Oh, Chris.
I apologize.
He's married now.
Oh, you're never really here. That was fun. I need to see it again because it's very out there and confusing a little bit, but it was exciting and violent. His performance was good.
He's put out 3 movies, I think, already this year, right?
I don't know.
He's always good though. Just having him in a movie is a good thing.
Wonderful.
What else?
Hereditary.
Yeah, I was enjoying that for the first half, and then it got too Satan-y. I didn't know what the hell was
I'm
going on.
not too crazy about horror and that kind of horror in particular. Death of Stalin, I fucking rolled on the ground laughing at.
Yeah.
I'll give it fucking 9 stars.
I have not
out
seen
of
it.
5. You'll enjoy this, Joe.
I'll see it.
Very much of a Joe list film.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It'll make your list of great movies.
I hope so. Won't You Be My Neighbor? I love that. That made me...
It's been ruined for me by this new
died?
Jim Carrey fucking thing where he's kind of doing a whacked out version of this.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
I saw it. I didn't think anything.
What's it called? Kidding?
Kidding. That's it.
Yeah.
Kidding. Yeah.
Did you love it?
I didn't see Kidding, but I saw Won't You Be My Neighbor. I thought it was. I don't know. It felt like it was. We knew everything that they were talking about in this
Oh,
film.
but it was so touching.
I didn't find it that touching.
Oh, it touched me.
But I never really watched Mr. Rogers.
Neither did I. Well, this is the new thing. This is what happened. I've gotten this argument with some friends. This is what happens sometimes in our society. Everyone starts claiming, "Oh, I loved Mr. Rogers," and I was like, "Well, then you're a nerd."
Yeah.
Like I was cool when I was like 6. I was like, "This guy sucks." Like even when I was 9, I was into The Godfather. I wasn't watching fucking this horse shit. But I mean, he's a fascinating guy. As an adult, I appreciate him. But like all these adults start being like, "Oh man, I grew up on that show. I loved it." I'm like, "Then you're a nerd, loser." That guy stinks. The Tale. I never even heard of that.
No, I don't know this one either.
It's an HBO movie.
An HBO movie is not a movie. That's a fucking TV show.
Well, all the stars are women, so that might be their problem.
No comments in it.
Oh.
Exactly. All the stars are women.
I'm only kidding. These are all jokes. I'm terrified nowadays. These are all jokes, everybody.
Yeah.
Loveless, I didn't see.
Now, what's Loveless about? A Russian film? The hell is this?
Where their kid, they're couples in a divorce and their kid disappears.
Hard to
I
tell.
can't watch that.
Hard to tell the difference between Russian and American these days. Am I right?
Yeah, you sure are.
Yeah.
You know, MAGA.
Oh, Leave No Trace. That's the best movie I've seen in a long time. That's the best movie in the last couple years.
Now, what's Louis C.K. doing in this movie?
That does look like him. That movie was phenomenal. I forgot about that movie. That movie's amazing.
Not only this, I've not even heard of this film.
This movie is Ben Foster, who's tremendous. This young woman was amazing also. And then it was made by the woman that made Deborah
Bone.
something. Yes.
The Winter's Bone director.
Yeah.
Yes. Deborah, I think is her name. This movie was phenomenal.
Without ruining it for me, do they end up leaving a trace?
They leave a trace,
Oh,
I believe. Yeah.
On her face.
Yeah, there's a trace.
Yeah.
That movie, it's great. That's number 2. That's bogus. That's number 1.
All right, let's see what's number 1.
Oh, Lean on Pete looked ridiculous. It looked like a combination of Brokeback and Seabiscuit.
Well, it sounds fantastic.
It does. It sounds fantastic. By the way, Brokeback, one of my favorite movies of all time. Seabiscuit, P to the U.
Didn't like it at all.
No, I don't care. It's a fucking horse. I almost said rabbit.
No, you're right. It's a rabbit.
And then The Rider's the same movie. Watch these 2 trailers. You can switch the trailers and no one would know the difference. If you showed someone the trailer for The Rider and then showed them Kiss Me Pete, they would be like, "Oh, all right, same movie." Look at the poster.
Yeah, that's very close.
It's a boy with a horse and a boy with a horse. Annihilation I didn't like either. I loved Ex Machina. That was like amazing.
I like the one where the aliens blew smoke rings and you had to read them.
Arrival.
That fucking movie was good.
Yeah, it was really good. I loved Arrival.
This one I also saw, and I'm going to be with you on it. I wasn't crazy about it.
No.
And I was like, where's the smoke rings? I got to have smoke rings.
Once people are floating, you lose me.
Yeah.
When you're like, whoa, and they're floating around, I got to get out of here.
And did it happen in your mind or in real life? That's too much.
And look at this. Number 1, First Reform. That's what we were just talking
We
about.
both love this film, and we both love Ethan Hawke. And they say he's got even a better movie out that he's, I think, directed and starring in. Am I wrong about that?
Blaze.
Yeah, Blaze.
It's playing at IFC. Blaze, we playing at IFC this weekend, the 22nd.
Come see Blaze. Do not go to any comedy clubs. Blaze is out there.
I want to go see that. I meant to go see it the other day, but my wife had to cancel for some reason.
If you can't watch with your wife, you don't want to see it.
Well, yeah, I suppose most of these movies I saw by myself. Sad.
It's always funny. Like when you're married, you'll find out that there's some things that you didn't know had to be done with both of you together. Like even watching like a Save TV show, you know, you have to do that together. You just can't go, hey, I made dinner. You can't be like, oh, I just ate. I just stopped and got a big bowl of spaghetti. This is a part of the partnership of marriage, to have these experiences together. And that's why Earl has never taken a wife and Chris has never taken a wife, because they lived too long as single men.
Mm-hmm. It's quite enjoyable.
It is.
I like it. We're gone a lot. So I'm like a single man, minus the sex, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm a single man half the time. I'm running around calling the shots.
And she on the road herself too?
A little bit. I'll bring her on the road. We just did Huntsville, Alabama together. Which everyone was
it's
like,
a beautiful town.
Yeah, people kept saying that. I didn't find it to be so beautiful.
Yeah.
They had NASA, and there's more PhDs per capita in Huntsville than any other city. But here's the thing. The PhD people don't come to the show.
No.
The fucking yell out, roll tide in the middle of a bit people come to the show. That's who's at the show. And so it was a little rough. It was like every show in Huntsville was the Late Show Friday.
That's really funny.
That's how I would describe Huntsville comedy.
Jeremy, what's up?
I'm a child of the 80s. So in the late 80s when RoboCop came out, I thought that was the most badass high-tech movie of all time. And then I watched it just recently, and I realized that one of the robots that he fights in the movie can't get down the stairs, and it's moving its toes and squeals like a dog.
It's a little bit of a silly thing. Somebody
said out how to get down.
As an illustrated novel, they all liked it, but as a movie, it was kind of cheaply done.
I didn't even realize it was a novel before that, or an illustrated novel.
It was comic book.
Comic book.
Yeah.
I mean,
but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Maybe it got made into a comic book after or never.
It was pretty ridiculous. There was like 5 more sequels. They kept trying to.
They say every sequel got better. Every sequel improved on the one before it.
Yeah, they call that the Jaws syndrome.
Yes.
Which just keeps
the
getting
Jaws
better.
just keep getting better and better. Now, did you ever see Jaws 3D in 3D?
I don't know that I did. That's the one in the theme park?
Yes.
Gossett Jr.?
Yes. And the end, we were all wearing 3D glasses, and they blew up Jaws through the most recent Jaws, and the Jaws popped out of its mouth and hung before us in 3D.
Wow. Very similar to the first character study done by Steven Spielberg. Oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. All the Jaws. I don't know what gets worse, Jaws or the Rocky movies.
They're very similar.
Yeah, they're very fucking ridiculously similar that they just keep getting worse and worse.
Those are movies, the Rocky sequels are really movies that I thought were, like Rocky 4 I thought was amazing, and then you're like, it is one of the most ludicrous plots
terrible.
of all time. I mean, people forget that Rocky Balboa had a losing record in the first movie. And then he just rifles off like 50 wins in a row in his late 30s and early 40s.
It doesn't.
You know how athletes do that?
The entire point of Rocky was a guy from the neighborhood who just goes after something with a little bit of luck, can go toe to toe with the champ and can earn respect. Not win, but surprise the champ, where the champ goes, oh shit. But then they get away with it, and he's just knocking out everybody, and that would never happen. I mean, the guy was borderline brain dead in the first movie.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Mickey. He's not good at teaching defense.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of defense.
True.
There's almost not one blocked punch in the whole series.
He was just, go for it, kid. Go for it. You should have seen me when I was younger. They put a nail in the gut. None of that is good. You're right. He was also a bum. The only person that was intelligent and above it all was Paulie. And Paulie went on to have his own robot.
I found Paulie to be a little mean to his sister. I don't know if you found that at all, particularly the Thanksgiving scene.
But you got to remember his disappointment when he figured out his sister was busted.
Yeah.
So get rid of that turkey. Throw her turkey. I mean, to throw out food any day is awful, but to do that on Thanksgiving and he pulls the wing off?
Yeah. I felt he acted a little unreasonable on Thanksgiving night.
I also, and I don't want to say anything about, but the way she was skating while he was running next to her, Adrian was skating, I didn't find it to be too sexy at all.
No. And also, you talk about Me Too and 2018. That sex scene is the rapiest of all.
Yeah, he's pretty
sex
rapey.
scenes. It's actually hard to watch now.
Yeah.
It's shot beautifully.
Yeah.
But he is very aggressive, and she is trying to leave. He shuts the door on her.
And uses, like, you just see his big arms, and he's around this obviously slow woman. I'm not even saying that she's mentally challenged, but she's slower than she should be. And she's an older virgin. You know what I mean? And no offense, Earl, but I find that to be really off-putting. And like, who wants to be the one? You know what I mean? Like, when you get a little out of your fucking teens, you could be like 20 or 21, and you find out the girl's a virgin, you're like, oh, wait, you're saving us for someone special. It ain't me, babe. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, like, you're 14 or 15, of course you're going to have sex with a virgin. But by the time you're 21, 22, you're like, no, I don't want this to get confusing to you. She was in her mid to late 30s at the time.
What I wondered when they did the musical, I didn't get a chance to see it because it was a very brief run. I wondered if they left in the line, "Retards love the zoo." That's what I was curious about in the musical, if they sang it at all. Retards love the zoo.
I have to be very careful right now because I've seen other people's careers be drugged down.
Oh, well, I'm just quoting a line from a film. I did not write it. Sylvester Stallone wrote the film.
I saw that film and I walked out the second that I heard that. I go, I am not. And I actually went on the internet in 1977. Wow. It was the early, there was only a couple scientists and engineers around the country.
I have to question your integrity because earlier in the film, the bartender has a racial slur for Apollo Creed, and you seem to have stayed through that. So
not only did I stay, I applauded. But that was the decade I was brought up in. It was very disrespectful. And by the way, I can hear the same remarks when I go home for Thanksgiving this year. Sorry, Earl. Sorry. Russ in Syracuse. Russ.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I just wanted to throw in there, as far as movie sequels that don't hold up to the original, every single Die Hard made after the first one was just a generic action movie with the Die Hard label slapped on it for no good reason.
I would agree with that. I think even Die Hard 2, the big problem there is he's not in the airplane.
No.
Yeah.
He's at the airport. The other people are in danger. The hostages are in the airplane, but he is not. His wife is, but he's not there. Here's what I always think, Ross, and go back and watch this. I always feel like Speed is the spiritual sequel to Die Hard. It definitely is Die Hard on a bus. And if they would have done that as a Die Hard movie, it probably would have worked. Now with Speed, it just works as a standalone. Don't go under 55, whatever you're doing.
That was a fun picture.
Yes.
Really enjoyable. Keanu Reeves, very charitable guy. I read his Wikipedia. The guy's like an angel. Everyone shits on that guy.
I had no idea. What does he do this?
I can't remember. I don't retain information, but he's given millions and millions of dollars, and
so was Earl.
Sweet.
No one brings that up.
If you look at his Wikipedia page, the two main chunks are his charity work and his accent in Dracula.
Yeah.
Was it Dracula? They call it the worst accent in the history of cinema.
Now, you're bringing up acts of kindness. This morning, someone calls my chick, Gail's mom, and she's on the speaker while she's talking to this person. It's somebody from the blood bank. And the blood bank says to her, "We want you to know, we have this on our records, you've saved 54 lives. And she only goes like this, "Oh, good. So when you need me," because whatever, there's something special about her blood or whatever. I didn't even know 54 people would be dead right now if she didn't give them, I guess, this unicorn blood. That is so. You know how many times I've given blood?
How many?
None. 0. And the only people whose lives I've saved is people that I could have killed, but stopped myself from doing it.
That's still very nice.
Thank you.
Wow, 54 lives. She's like Oscar Schindler.
I consider her a modern day Oscar Schindler, except for none of the people she saved are Jews. And I don't know whether that's a coincidence.
Does she specify that?
Yeah, I don't know. John in Florida. John.
Hey, good afternoon. What's happening, fellas? How are y'all?
Say hi to Joe List. He'll be coming to your part of town. They're right there in Cleveland, Ohio. Very, very soon.
It's at Hilarities this weekend. ComedianJoeList.com for tickets.
See you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to, we were talking about bad movies and all that. I was talking about, ever since Point Break came out, I remember watching it when I was younger, and then the Fast and the Furious movies come out, and I'm like, man, these are the same exact movies, just newer generations, so.
I don't even know if they're that far apart in generations. The Fast and Furious started as like a gearhead movie, a traditional, and then get more and more ridiculous.
Yeah, now they're like they're racing submarines. Or there's a submarine in the last one. I don't know.
Okay,
It's like
good.
8.
And they're just driving out of cars and stuff like.
Yeah, they're
and the
driving out
first one was almost a very 70s type car racing movie, which have always had a weak spot for people that like cars.
But yeah, now they were I think in Antarctica with The Rock.
Now, Point Break is ridiculous but incredibly watchable.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah, and Lori Petty, I thought was second. One of my earliest pleasing myself moments was when she changes on the beach. She has like her towel on. When you watch her with the binoculars, and I think I've always had a voyeuristic thing since that. She has the towel, and then the idea that there was nothing underneath the towel. And I was with my parents. I was 9.
Yes.
And I watched it with my parents. We rented it, and I remember just having a real kid boner. And Lori Petty I'm still into short hair and surfers, and
I am. This might surprise you since you were so attached to it. Something about her and her bug eyes has always turned me off, and I couldn't even look at Tank Girl. Tank Girl made me queasy, and I remember when she was in the women playing baseball movie.
League of Their Own.
I just wanted to see her take a fastball right into the skull.
Well, here's a scene that I just rewatched. I tweeted about this a couple of weeks ago. I rewatched The League of Their Own, which is a wonderful film.
Yeah.
There's the scene, and this is just bad writing, where Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna are a pair, and then Lori Petty and Gina Davis are a pair, and they're walking away, and Rosie O'Donnell whips a baseball at Gina Davis's face. And then she catches it with her bare hand. And then they become friends. Rosie O'Donnell's like, all right, hey, sorry. But you're like, so you're a psychopath. Like, she would have killed her.
And that was really based on a scene from Rosie O'Donnell's childhood in Long Island where she tried to hit another girl.
Is that real?
No.
Oh. But it's supposed to, like, endear us to her.
Yes.
Like, that's a crazy thing to do.
Yeah, that is quite insane. It is quite insane. And that is a incredibly watchable movie. You know what I mean?
Movie.
And that scene where the guy comes in and one of their husbands or boyfriends is dead and they're all nervous that it's going to be them shouldn't play as well as it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little bit cheesy, and yet I'll watch it and I always think, oh, I forgot which girl's fucking husband is dead in the war.
It's really great scene. By the way, that guy, I think you're having trouble with these male actors. That guy is Tom Hanks.
No, the man comes in.
Oh, the delivery guy.
Everyone knows who Tom Hanks is. He's a fabulous actor. He was in Forrest Gump.
I thought you were just forgetting Linklater and Hawk and Hanks.
No.
I got you.
Well, I obviously am a big Richard Linklater fan, and I told you Ethan Hawke is one of my favorite, but I thought we were focusing on the young lady at the time. Yeah,
we got to focus on the women.
Yeah, of course we do.
Well, I got sad news for you. The two best parts of the movie, A League of Their Own, are Lovitz and Hanks, probably. Not a great film altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate women the way you do, but I do love his piss scene, the way it goes on. What's our new intern is Vinay. Have Vinay come rushing in while you're doing a plug, because he's a young comedian and he loves you. He saw you at one of the clubs. You didn't even acknowledge him. You're so above it all.
Oh, I feel bad.
I want him just to meet you. Go ahead.
Joe List is performing this weekend, September 20th through the 22nd at Hilarities in Cleveland, and he'll be at the DC Draft House October 19th and 20th. Nice
to see you.
Go to ComedianJoeList.com for tickets to both those dates and all of Joe's dates.
Sorry for talking over my own play.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. It's going to cost. It's going to cost you, no one else. Vinay, where did you say you saw Joe and you said he murdered?
Stand.
At the Stand. Yeah. And show him your commitment.
It's a comedy seller guy.
Yeah.
Not just any tattoo.
This is the goal.
Yeah.
Wow. You
The
look like
goal
Justin
is the
Silver.
seller.
You have a similar face to
What?
Justin Silver.
Justin Silver. I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
I've never got a Justin before.
Well,
Good
no one
for
knows
you.
who Justin Silver is, fortunately.
Good for you.
You look exactly like him. This is like
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's particularly around your eyes.
Yes.
I think.
He has
Yes.
pretty eyes.
Yeah, he's got beautiful eyes
Oh.
like you do.
Much better body. than you.
Yeah, well, and he trains dogs.
I think it might be. Oh, it is Silver. I thought it was
Yeah.
Silva. I always been saying his name wrong.
Do you know him? He's a comic
No.
around town. So your goal is to be at the cellar?
I mean, eventually that's everyone's goal, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, no, of course it is. It's the finest club. It's the finest club in the West Village right now.
On McDougal Street.
Well, you're going to be there next week when we do the Ricky Gervais
Yeah.
Mass.
I'm excited.
And I'll make sure I say to Esty, he's ready now. I go, Esty, come on in here. I want you to see this kid. He's got your logo. Put him up now.
That's happening next Wednesday, September 26th, 5 p.m. at the Village Underground. Go to theinterrobang.com for a chance at free tickets.
Oh, can I add a thing? Speaking of the cellar, I did. This just happened today. I'll be at the Fat Block October 2nd, a Tuesday. One of those
cool.
Tuesdays, if anyone's interested in coming to that. I assume not.
Do you like
based on
that room?
Buffalo. I do, yeah. I mean, it's my third favorite of those three rooms. but
Right.
I do like it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just even their third best room is like the third best room in the city.
It's the most it's the most comfortable room for anyone to watch a show in.
Yeah.
There's just lounging places to make out during the show, smoke weed.
If you had to fuck in a club,
Yes.
that has the best opportunity
vibe.
to have
Yeah.
sex. Yeah, yeah.
If I was to fuck in a club, it would be Fridays. You know what I mean? I want the lights on. I want to bang on apps. What is it? Do you have you got a message coming in?
I
Is
don't
the-
know. Or always just like,
Is there trouble at Pearl Harbor you want to announce?
no, we're running out of time in the show.
Okay, good.
Boy. And in life.
Well, Joe
right,
List
folks?
is unbelievable, is he not?
Love Joe List. He's performing this weekend at Hilarities in Cleveland, and then October 19th and 20th at the DC Draft House. Go to comedianjoelist.com for tickets for all of Joe's dates. He'll also be at the Fat Black Pussycat October 2nd.
Yes.
And you can see him on the stand-ups, which is available now on Netflix.
Are you going to do an hour at the Pussycat? Is that the deal? A half hour?
Everyone's talking about an hour. Like to me, I'm like, I'm gonna do 45.
45 is
I'm not
plenty.
looking to-
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not gonna just headline a show. I got my friend Matt Wayne on, and Sarah will be there. My wife, who's wonderful.
Do you go there for new joke night too?
Occasionally, yeah, I do.
I just found this out for Will Savence the other night. He's not Haitian. He was born. I mean, he has Haitian background, but he was born in Brooklyn. I go, how do you get an accent? You have a Haitian accent.
It's more mind blowing than the baby in Cocktail is Will's accent. But is there a more likable human being than Will Savence?
None. And I Am Maurice is going to be the movie that he's making. The trailer is fantastic.
Yes.
All right, that's it for us, Chris. Anything else to plug?
No, that's it.
We'll be back in here tomorrow, everybody. Take care.